106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the story this Tuesday. While we were doing our show, Lakeview has fallen, as reported by WGN News. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Friday night edition of Chicago Quarter. I'm your host, Jerry Vasilatos. With me always is my esteemed co-host, Edward Heller.
Good evening, Chicago, and parts in between and outside and inside, and all the extraterrestrials watching us on delay.
So this was reported Tuesday night by WGN News. Here we go. Hundreds of teams take over Lakeview, destroying the neighborhood. Lakeview is no longer on the ward map of the city of Chicago, ladies and gentlemen. It's been destroyed.
Yeah, Jerry, there's only 49 wards now. Because, Lakeview's gone.
There's only 49 wards now. Yeah. And I think you have video from that evening also.
I do, Jerry.
Okay, so let's share the video.
Brought to us by WGN.
Of course.
Last night, the city saw its latest teen takeover, this time in Lakeview.
Yeah, a mob of teens filled the streets, climbing onto cars, damaging the vehicles and businesses in the neighborhood. WGN's Kelly Davis has more.
People tell me hundreds of teens poured off the L here at the Belmont Red Line stop. They swarmed the streets and caused chaos throughout the neighborhood. This is the scene that unfolded just after 10 o'clock last night. Hundreds of teens took to the...
When they say last night, they mean Monday night.
No, that was Tuesday night. That was actually after our Tuesday broadcast, I believe.
Oh, was that Tuesday night?
That's why we missed it. Yeah, it was happening while we were broadcasting.
Okay, I know it was a couple days ago. All right.
Putting down Belmont for hours.
There was no celebration yesterday. It was just pure chaos.
Rowdy Hashish is the manager of the Slice Shop. The restaurant, just steps from the Belmont Red Line stop, was surrounded. He shared this video he took from inside the store of teens dancing on cars and drinking in the streets.
Right away, we decided to close.
Can you pause it for a second?
The store and.
Yeah. Also, let me just note that I heard the song from Baltimore playing in the background there, and so we might get a copyright strike from that. If you're wondering where the hell a music strike came from on this story,
I'd like to get to the point first.
Sorry, Jerry.
Okay. We're making fun of this story, not because we're condoning the bad behavior, okay? But when people are running around with their hair on fire saying that Lakeview was the neighborhood was absolutely destroyed, okay? That's how they were describing this. And before we go on with the video, me share another update that came from Twitter the next morning. Let me make sure I've got the right one up here. Here we go. This was the next day from the destroyed ward of Lakeview. Here we go. Here are rescue teams combing the rubble at Belmont and Seminary in Lakeview this morning in search for survivors of the destroyed neighborhood, presumably. It was obviously a slow news day. Okay, bunch of kids. What do we call them now? Flash mobs? I don't know what to call them, but they descended on Lakeview, and I'm sure that more people were even more freaked out because they were probably people of color that they're not used to seeing up in that neighborhood. So naturally,
it was fairly obvious in the careful wording that all the people they interviewed had in this story. But yeah.
All right, let's resume the video.
And the restaurant, and we stayed all night watching, making sure nobody broke in or nobody vandalized our business.
CPD officers worked to control the crowd and move them out
why
of the
you being
area.
interviewed?
But the teens left behind a path of destruction. People were horrified by the extent of the damage this
Horrified! Destruction!
It's not cool to be jumping up and down on people's cars and basically vandalizing their
I wouldn't
cars.
be happy if they did it to mine either.
No, you're rightfully pissed off about this situation, but people do have insurance and deductibles.
But this is probably a regular occurrence on the south and west sides every weekend, and we don't hear WGN News breaking in on it with any concern for the properties on the south and west sides. Okay, look, it's bad behavior, but it suddenly happened in a north side white neighborhood. Is how I'm reading the hair on fire pearl clutching right now.
Yeah, I'm just curious. It's like why did they import it from the south and or west side to Lakeview? I'm like, what I mean, what was someone's intention was to cause some problems on the north side.
Well, was there a Cubs game that night?
Is that what it was about?
I don't know.
So.
I don't know. I'm wondering if maybe there were was a bigger influx of traffic from kids into the neighborhood because there was a Cubs game, or maybe this was orchestrated. Maybe it was one of those, let's get together on social media and freak everybody out by showing up somewhere and acting
maybe
out.
Public transportation was bypassing certain people's stops, and so they decided just to get off at the one that they were able to get out at. Because I know they've been messing with the public transportation and rerouting a bunch of stuff because of NASCAR. I don't know.
That's another big thorn in Chicago's ass this weekend. We'll get to.
Yes, it is. All right, let's play the rest of this thing.
Prints on cars, hoods dented, windshields broken.
It's terrifying. It's terrifying.
Terrifying.
Said she even heard gunshots and was too scared to leave her apartment.
It has been very chaotic, and as somebody who's lived in Lakeview for honestly the past 3 years, it's very scary to see how
3 whole years.
Very scary. She's clearly not stepped foot outside of Lakeview to understand or to encounter the rest of Chicago or experience the rest of Chicago's neighborhoods. She's basically getting a taste of what people in other neighborhoods have been living with, abandoned and neglected for decades.
Well, and also, do we know for sure there were gunshots, or were people just hearing firecrackers because it is that time of year?
Not sure. I mean, it is that time of year this week.
Yeah.
things have changed over time.
People are hoping the city steps up to prevent this from happening again. Alderman Bennett Lawson helped with cleanup this morning. He released a statement saying, quote, "I will be meeting with the 19th District Police, CTA, and others to discuss what took place and identify ways we can prevent it from occurring moving forward, as well as continue conversations with my colleagues on City Council about how we can keep our youth from participating in these disruptive actions."
We all simply love Lakeview, and to see others coming in and not respecting your community the same way that
others coming in.
setting.
Chicago police arrested 2 people.
Others coming in. Would this speak to the fact that, pause it for a second, we live in the most segregated city in the country? Others coming in.
It doesn't help. It doesn't help. People don't know how to react to this. It's like you see a group of teens. I'm not identifying them by their race. I just see that it's a group of rowdy teens that are there for whatever reason and are
well, and I looked at
causing
that
a ruckus and vandalizing, and so that the police are supposed to respond to that, right? They're not supposed to make a gigantic.
Well, here's the other thing, Ed. I did see some white faces in the pics from the footage. It wasn't all
Okay.
It wasn't all African American kids. I saw a multicultural array of faces in that crowd, but clearly it seems like there's yeah. Well, in this one here that I showed at the top of the show from WGN News, hundreds of teens take over Lakeview, destroying the neighborhood. Let me see if I can get that screen up also without killing my bandwidth here. Is there any more to her report, though?
Yeah, there's a little more.
Charged with aggravated assault of a first responder.
Let me back that up. Hold on.
With aggravated assault of a first responder. Two people, including a 15-year-old girl. She has been charged with aggravated assault of a first responder, resisting and obstructing traffic. Reporting from Lakeview, I'm Kelly Davis, WGN News.
Okay.
All right. So what is our point here? Not condoning it. I guess maybe we shouldn't really make light of it because there was damage and people were hurt. But again, it hits the North Side Light neighborhood and it's big news on WGN. Or if it happens down in Streeterville or along the Magnificent Mile. Okay. Yeah. It seems like there's, I don't know, from this picture, I think there's a multicultural array of kids in this photo from what I can see.
Yeah, it's almost like they focused in the video articles on groups of color.
Yeah,
to try and make this a race thing.
Well, of course, and my mom would say, "Well, would you be happy if people came into your neighborhood and danced on your cars and damaged your property?" Of course not, and that's not we're not celebrating or making light of what happened there. But again, this is the response to decades and decades and generations of neglect and abandonment and everything else that happens regularly in other neighborhoods. And I guess I just kind of wanted to point out, I thought the irony of the situation. But again, we mourn that part of town because, as this soldier from the front shared with us. Here we go. There you go. My lovely Mary, I bring news from the growing conflict in Chicago. Lakeview has fallen. It's no more, at least according to WGN. So anyway, how's your Friday going, Ed?
It's not too bad. I finished off the deep dish I had left over in the fridge. So I got my Pizza Friday in. Made it back from the grocery store. So I'll have milk for my coffee in the morning. So all is right with the world for now. One more comment about this story. The news media is treating this story like Terry from the Reno 911 meme, where he's sitting by the tree going, "I was murdered."
I'm not familiar with that show. So that's one of the.
Can I show it to you?
If you have a clip,
like
sure.
It's like 10 seconds. Let's
okay.
See if I can.
Yeah. Let's see it.
Yeah. Here we go.
Terry, buddy. Terry, here's your word. Here's your word.
I was murdered.
You were murdered. Okay, you obviously weren't murdered because you're alive and you're basically intact. You weren't murdered, buddy. You weren't murdered, buddy.
You weren't murdered, buddy. Lakeview's still there.
I wonder if that's what I sounded like with my back pain going back to the ER this past Wednesday night, Ed.
Well, that's justifiable, though. Back pain is no joke, ladies and gentlemen.
Going
if you
back.
Have never had.
You missed the lead. I went back third time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So as I reported last week, I shared my emergency room adventures. So once again, briefly speaking to the state of the healthcare system in this country, I was told to follow up with a specialist, and I did. I had an appointment for 3:20 on Wednesday, okay, at the Spine Center. I'm in traffic. I call them. I tell them, look, it's 3:25. I'm 5 minutes from the parking lot. I'm going to be there. Normally, when you go to appointments, Ed, don't you normally have like a 10 to 15 minute grace period?
Also, you're probably going to be waiting 30 minutes until they can actually get to you because they often overbook patients at doctor's offices.
Very good point. Well, the lady on the phone said, well, I'm not going to mention his name. This doctor is very, very strict about their late policy and they won't see you.
Really?
And I said, well, I'm pulling into the parking lot right now and I just drove a half an hour and I'm not going to turn around when I'm here. So could you relay the message that I'm calling to tell them I'm running behind, but I'm here. I just have to park and hobble in on my crutches. Well, we'll tell them, but we can't guarantee anything. So I go in. And yeah, lo and behold, the receptionist tells me we're very strict about our appointment policy. He won't see you. 3:30. I said they're gonna have to reschedule me. Okay, when is he going to reschedule me? July 25th. I just walked out of the office. I gave her a look.
He would not see you.
I gave her a look, and I walked out of the spine center, Ed, and I went straight to the emergency room again. And I said, "This is what happened. I cannot believe this doctor's attitude. You know, nobody wants to be late, but things happen. I called. Yes, you did the right thing by calling. We're sorry. We're sorry. We're sorry." The doctor in the ER admits to me, yeah, you know, we're on your side. We're not happy about this either, but we're overstaffed. I mean, we're understaffed, overworked. You know, the best I can say is you have every right to write a letter to the administrator of the hospital here or write your congressperson about the state of things. And I said to him, you know what, doctor? I can appreciate everything you're trying to do here right now to help me because I can't go home with – I was supposed to get a steroid injection in my spine. Is what I'm there for. We know what the problem is. We know what the solution is. Well, the doctor said, well, you know, the doctor wouldn't have even given you the injection today. This would have been your meeting with him so that he could have put it in the system to make sure that your insurance will cover it, and then they will have you come back within 10 days. And I said, well, you know what?
Just do that without you having to waste time in traffic and be late so he won't even see you. This
doctor, my head was going to explode. And I said to him, you know what? Yeah, I could write a letter to the administrator of the hospital, the board, and my congressperson. I said, but you know what? That's going to take a lot of effort and a lot of time. And I probably won't even get a response for maybe a month or two. And the problem is right now. Mm-hmm. And I can't imagine I'm the first person who's gone through this that hasn't written the administrator or my congressperson or Tammy Duckworth. Everyone says, well, Tammy Duckworth's disabled. You know, she would understand you. No, she doesn't. They don't care. They don't pay attention. So I give great thanks to this doctor because he said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to call over to the spine center and I'm going to put through the paperwork that they would have put through today had they seen you so that, you know, you're in the system to get your shot quicker. So they gave me Norcos, put me on the bed. You know, thankfully this time in the ER, you know what the wait time was? 5 minutes as opposed to the 9 hours last week. So, you know, I was grateful that I wasn't
hit or miss in there, huh?
For that long. But so the doctor set it up. And he said, call the pain center tomorrow to set up the actual appointment for the injection. I called him yesterday when I was supposed to, and they're going to get me in July 14th. It's still going to take some time.
Right.
So in the meantime, I've got my Norcos to tide me over and my whiskey and Cokes. I will get a refill on the Norco, but it's like, you know, this is just, I don't want to come on here and whine about Jerry's problems, but Jerry's problems are everybody's problems.
Yeah, they are.
Person going through this in an ER.
This is how I mean. Share it. This is one of the important services that we provide as an independent media outlet. We bring an independent perspective from people who are just like you, who are going through the same bullshit that you're going through, and telling it like it is. So, our healthcare system in America sucks. Private for-profit healthcare sucks. We should never have it here. If you're in another country watching us and anyone in your government is trying to get you to privatize your healthcare, seriously drop them into the nearest volcano because you don't want that.
And for the doctor to also tell me, he said, you know, it's to that doctor's benefit to like get you through as quickly as possible. I can't speak to why he decided not to process you because you were 10 minutes late, even though you called.
No, some of these doctors, they got a big chip on their shoulders, Jerry.
I think that's part of it too, Ed.
And what's extremely obvious to me here with this guy who who's set up a late policy is that he's never had back pain himself. Clearly has never had the spinal issues that he has gone to school to treat, or he would never do this to people.
That's true. Those who've gone through it can understand, what the pain is like. And this other doctor in the ER, as he said to me, unfortunately, it's still going to take maybe 10 days. And I'm realizing the reason that they play hot potato from the ER to the hospital to the specialist to who then runs and gets your insurance approval for something they already know you need when you left the hospital to your final appointment where you get the steroid injection, that's all billable time.
Yeah.
It's all billable. So Medicare probably is going to spend more paying my bill on this for this waste of time than had the ER just did an MRI last Wednesday night and said, oh yeah, you've got a bulging disc. You're going to need a steroid injection. Let's get you to the specialist immediately instead of keeping you in the hospital for 3 days and not doing the MRI till the second day to determine the problem. So to anybody out there who's gone through the same kind of hospital musical chair bullshit, I sympathize with you. And I told the doctor, I said to him, how did this come up? He said something like, when I was talking to the fact that, I could write my congressperson or the hospital administrator, to share my story. I said, I've got a show on YouTube. I already shared the ER story last week. I said, not that, the personnel there didn't do a great job when they finally saw me, but the insane wait times, to which he said, yeah, it's inexcusable. They don't like it, but they're understaffed and overworked. And you know why, Ed? I kind of got the impression from this doctor is because the hospitals that make all of this money off of healthcare and copays and insurance don't want to spend the extra money to pay extra staff. That's why they're overworked and understaffed. They don't want to put those record profits into putting more people in there to service people who are in pain or dealing with emergencies faster.
Yeah, and a lot of the other places that deal in healthcare have to deal with a for-profit system. So even if they wanted to do things quickly and responsively for their patients, they can't. So again, the nearest volcano.
You can call it single payer a Canadian way. Only socialized medicine will ever save the day. Come on now, let me hear that dirty word. Socialism!
Yep. So,
Gave me an opportunity to share that one again.
Yeah, so we'll get dinged with that one next time.
So let's see who's in the live chat tonight. Sorry,
yes,
for my
welcome
everybody, but welcome
everybody.
Who's with us tonight? I invited Kathy to come on, but unfortunately, she said she had some telephone problems. But I see Kathy in the live chat. Welcome, dear, and hopefully, maybe next Friday you'll get through your phone problems. We can have you on.
Art is in the chat.
Yeah. You know what, Art? So Art shares this. There's an ice cream truck down his block. Should he go? You know what, Art? Speaking of ice cream trucks, oh my God, what a perfect transition here. Let me get this ready in a moment. I was going to save this for our Biden watch later, but since Art brought up ice cream trucks, let me share this with you. So. Melty Joe, Alzheimer Joe. What do you call him now, Ed?
Yeah, Melty Joe Biden.
Joe Biden.
Yep.
I guess he did an interview. I forgot who the host was at CNN, but we got this gem of an interview with Joe Biden this week. I'm just waiting for the video to load. I can't imagine Joe hasn't done shows where he realizes you basically just sit for commercial break, but this is what everybody got to see as soon as the video loads. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, our president.
Here, we'll have reaction and analysis.
You want to send me the link? Because I didn't see any of that.
Let me play it again.
Mr. President, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate
it's great to have you.
Thank you.
Don't go anywhere. It's a very exciting day around here. We'll have reaction and analysis.
So why do I bring up the ice cream truck? I have the actual unedited video from CNN of what they edited out for broadcast there, and I'll present that video. This is the unedited version of what transpired there. Why Melty Joe had to rush off set so quickly. Come on, video. There we go. All right, here we go.
President, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Well, I
much. It's
appreciate
great to have
it.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Don't go anywhere. It's a very exciting day around here. We'll have reaction and analysis to everything we just heard.
Do we get that? Shall I play it one more time? Make sure it loads. Here we go.
I saw it.
Well, and the ones that didn't vote for your bills but run on them.
That's right.
Mr. President, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Well, I
much. It's
appreciate
great to have
it.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Don't go anywhere. It's a very exciting day around here. We'll have reaction and analysis.
It sure is. So that's why he was in such a rush to get off the set, get out of that chair and get off set.
That's funny.
All right. All right. Let me get my next screen up here.
Okay.
Everybody.
I'll be right
Actually-
back. You can leave my camera up, though.
Okay. I feel Ed's got some kind of surprise for us here. He's got his ice cream in honor of Melty Joe.
Yes, in honor of Melty Joe, I am having a scoop on Melty Joe, hoping that eventually he'll be gone.
Yeah. You know, RFK's been rising in the polls. I like RFK, but I like Cornel West more.
Yeah.
Dr. Cornel West. So I'm really hoping that something horrible happens that Biden can't run so that they can't force RFK out of having a shot at the Democratic primary. Or I don't know that RFK would run independent if he's denied a shot at the primary, in which case I'm all in with Dr. Cornel West.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, on the national level, especially for president, I'm never voting Democrat ever again. I'm never voting Republican ever either. I am done with the duopoly, and the rest of you should be too. Because all they are is lip service and kayfabe.
Art says
they're on TV.
I love the ice cream shaped in the head of Mickey Mouse. Remember those? I do. I'm wondering, oh my God, we should do this, Ed. We should create ice creams in the shape of Joe Biden's head. Nobody's thought of that. I wonder how quickly we can get that idea into production somewhere.
Get your Melty Joe ice cream bars at the local Jewel, like right now. Well, actually outside the Jewel, because there's no way they would let us use their freezer. So we'll just have, a little cooler kind of out front between a certain hours of the day before they kick us off the lot. But Melty Joe ice cream bars.
Oh, we got to do. I wonder how we could. I mean, you can do designer food. I just wonder how before the next election, we got to talk off air about that and see if we can make a killing off of those. Remember, I told you years ago. Well, this was during the Iraq War. I sold those political playing cards, the deck of Republican Chicken Hawks.
Yeah,
did pretty well with them too. We got covered in Time magazine. This would be the kind of political novelty item that would really sell if I could figure out how to do it in enough time.
All right, let me put this back in the freezer before I.
All right, yeah, before it melts like Joe Biden's brain. Ed says they still sell the Mickey Mouse. They cost $1 bazillion at Disney World, but you can get them at grocery stores. And Art says if an asteroid was coming to destroy the Earth, I'd welcome the demise. You having a bad night tonight, Art? Is that why you want the asteroid to come?
I don't know. Maybe Maybe he's still salty about the Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah, I've had a night to simmer on that. We all saw Ed, Art, and I, and Art's brother George went to go see Indiana Jones and the Dialysis of Destiny last night. He didn't go out with a whimper, but he certainly didn't go out with a bang. And we're gonna do a review show on that this weekend.
Yeah, Cliff's Notes. I didn't hate it.
Yeah, but that's not a glowing review. I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
When I say
it was better than Crystal Skull.
It was. But
that's a low bar.
Really. And I went back to watch Last Crusade last night with Sean Connery, who, by the way, I was musing. Do you know how old Sean Connery was when he played Indiana Jones's father in The Last Crusade?
50, 60?
58 years old. Yeah. And Sean Connery, at that time he was playing Indiana Jones's dad with the white beard. Yeah. Sean looked a little bit older all his life. So I would have imagined he was like in his 60s. But what struck me was that I'm 57. And Connery was playing Indy's father at 58. So I'm wrapping my head around, are older people now looking younger? Or is it just our perception of, because we know people were older than us, we always perceive and look at them as if they carry themselves as an older person? I just found it fascinating to think that.
Well, Jerry, they say that 50 is the new 30.
Is it? Well, I certainly feel.
Well,
30.
I say that.
Well,
I don't know if anybody
we should all
else
say
is.
that then.
Yeah.
So, Where Pilgrim's here. Welcome, Where Pilgrim. Who else is in the chat with us? I see Kathy again. Kathy Powers. The spine center is truly the worst. Well, I certainly discovered that, Kathy. I'm so sorry you got involved. That's where my doctors directed me. It's the purpose of hospitals to make you a patient by driving you crazy.
Yeah, well, I don't need to go to hospitals for that.
Well, Kathy was very kind about offering to send me to her pain doctor. I'm guessing it's at, Kathy, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming it's over at the hospital near California and Foster. But since I've already scheduled this appointment, I don't know if I can go see another doctor since I've scheduled this with him, or if I've got to wait for an approval for your recommendation to look at me. So I'm just going to email me the info, but I'm just going to sit it out and be quiet these next 14 days, that I can just sit around the house, do bed rest, take it easy, and go for that shot. Just want to wrap up who else is in. You know what, Kathy? I wasn't going to go back there, but unfortunately, when the ER doctor came back and he said, I just did everything the doctor in the spine center was supposed to do to set you up with the appointment so you come back and you get the injection, I'm kind of committed now. So I don't want to undo something having gotten this far. And when I was sitting in the hospital room, you know what this whole adventure felt like, Ed? It felt like a video game where it's like you have to progress to this level to get to that level, get that treasure to then get to the next level. That's what the ER and hospital system felt like this past week.
Yeah. So
anyway.
Okay.
So Kathy's last comment.
So my upload speed is still good so far today.
Good.
If you guys start seeing me drop off or get weird robot voicey, or my picture starts getting weird, please let me know.
It starts looking like Melty Joe's brain.
And I'll switch over to the backup supply system for the interwebs. It's the top secret backup that only I know about.
So this story hit yesterday or today. Actually, it was today, this morning. And Ed, since you've got video, you'll probably play the video smoother than I can. Let's run the 32 video.
Yeah, that's not. Unfortunately, it's not the video.
It's not the associated story? Okay,
it
let me
might have been at the time they posted it, but it's just a link to their live stream.
Well, I'll just read from the story then. All right, so here's the headline, everybody. And I don't know how I feel about this, because I'm very much in support of our sanctuary city status helping migrants. But this story is going to lead into another story of people that aren't getting everything that we're extending to migrants that we should. And this seems a little problematic to me, because if you're undocumented, it means you're going to have to get a job, because you can't drive without insurance. So how can you get a license if you don't have a job to pay for insurance? Here's what Fox 32 reported. New Illinois law signed by Pritzker allows undocumented immigrants to obtain driver's licenses. Governor J.B. Pritzker signed a bill into law Friday that allows undocumented immigrants to obtain standard Illinois driver's licenses that can serve as a valid form of identification. Not an ID card, it's actual license. It's an actual license. I've got the wrong window up here. Sorry, guys. I didn't want the screen to start moving as I started sharing or reading from the story, so forgive me. Let me do one more thing here. Do you have video for it, Ed?
I looked for, I couldn't find.
Okay, no worries. I saw there was something on your end, but I wasn't sure if you wanted me to.
No, they've got these little ads that are playing all over their webpage. Actually, let me see if I can take another stab at, maybe Fox posted something on YouTube. But this was from today, so.
Yeah, since the story just plays.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything.
Okay, no worries. I'll just continue reading from the article. So Pritzker signed this bill. Of course, it's the wrong window. I'm just guys, bear with me as the screen scrolls. The new driver's licenses will replace the current temporary visitor's driver's license, which is called a TVDL, and will last for 4 years. Over 300,000 people in Illinois currently have a temporary visitor's driver's license. The legislation is, you know what, I'm just going to take this off screen because you guys don't want to see text moving. I'll just read from it. This legislation is a significant step in eliminating the barriers to opportunity that many undocumented immigrants face, Pritzker said in a statement. We're ensuring every eligible individual can obtain a driver's license, making our roads safer, decreasing stigma, and creating more equitable systems for all. But again, you have to have insurance to drive. You have to have a job to afford insurance.
Well, those are the requirements they've got there. Is that they have to pass a driving test, they have to have insurance, and then they have to provide some kind of identification documents, and then it says they have to prove Illinois residency for at least a year.
Do they have to prove insurance when they get the license, or they just? I forgot when I renewed my license.
Well,
if I have to provide proof of insurance.
Well, you have to have insurance in order to drive a car. So
yes, but do you have to present it to get your license?
That's a good question.
I don't think you do. And this is my point, Ed. Okay, this is my point. Not knocking in. This is not to bash on migrants. You know that, okay? But how many, and you know, people who aren't migrants probably go get a license without having to provide proof of insurance. But I think that this could potentially make a bad situation worse, because if you've got these thousands of migrants coming into Chicago getting driver's licenses to drive, and they don't have to provide proof of insurance, and they get the license and get the car.
You're assuming that.
Well, it's not an unfair assumption, Ed, is it?
It might be. I mean, it's been a while since I've been to the DMV.
Oh, you mean as far as the proof of insurance?
Yeah.
Okay. Last time, I'm remembering now when I renewed my license, which I believe was earlier this year. I'm 99.9% sure I didn't have to provide proof of insurance. Okay. They just wanted me to make sure that I had paid for my license plate fee, right? Because they want to make sure they.
Let me play devil's advocate for a second then. I mean, what about just regular citizens? They go and get their driver's license, and if they don't have to provide proof of insurance, it's the same risk.
Dude, what I'm saying is everybody should have to provide proof of insurance to get their license. Okay.
Sure.
So we already have a problem that's out of control with probably people who are citizens not providing proof of insurance. What I'm saying here is that I think this move, if you're not able to enforce the insurance mandate to make sure people aren't rushing to get their licenses to drive around and get a car, isn't going to cause more problems. And
there are people now, Jerry, that drive around without insurance.
I know there are, and
like
they shouldn't.
Here we got Rich Rudd in the live chat saying my son's idiot friends have drove without insurance.
That's right, and they shouldn't be issued a license without insurance. I guess what I'm saying here, whether you're a citizen or not, this element of the possibility of putting more drivers on the road that don't have insurance, potentially causing more accidents, is more fuel to the fire of everything we've been wrestling with here, with telling people we really should welcome and give migrants aid. But when we talk about how much aid they're getting given, in light of the fact that neighborhoods and homeless people are not getting the same kind of aid, and they should, I'm going to play devil's advocate this way, Ed. I think this rush to give migrants their driver's licenses in a primarily Democratic state is going to create a lot of grateful new voters.
Okay.
That's kind of what and a lot of people have brought this up before in the past. While the Democratic Party pretends that it's all for rights of diverse people or diverse sexualities, it's just a lot of lip talk and virtue signaling so that they can make sure they get the vote without actually following through or looking at the other problems that could arise from a situation like this, not taking in the insurance question, which should also, I think that's also something that should be in place for regular citizens.
I mean, I don't completely disagree there. We need help with all of our homeless. We need help with just our regular citizens. And yes, we should be helping our migrant friends. And I don't have enough information to know if taking away some of the red tape and hurdles from them getting driver's licenses is a good or a bad thing at this point. I understand the concerns about putting more people on the road that might be inexperienced in driving in America. That is a concern because
and the language barriers, even if they can pass, everybody can maybe memorize things to pass a driver's test, but without experience on our roads here, or maybe being really fluent.
We got people who can read our language natively and still drive like morons. So I don't know if it's going to be good or bad, but I can think that, if you have migrants who have been here a year and they've been taking public transportation the whole time and they've been working in a job so that they have money coming in so that eventually they will be able to afford to pay for insurance, I don't see it as a gigantic problem. But I can see the potential issues that are going to arise, and you've brought those up. So yeah, the city and the state government should be thinking about how they're going to be dealing with that going forward, especially your concern about needing to show proof of insurance before you can get a license or before you can get one renewed.
Well, here's another layer that's kind of loosely related to how much we're really putting forth in migrant services. Now, we know since the migrants have been sent to Chicago, the city has been looking for ways to house them. And a lot of the complaints that came from neighborhoods on the south and west sides where they were putting up, where they were housing and sheltering them was that, that's great, but how is it that we've got the resources to help migrants, but we don't have the resources to help people who already live here, whether they're homeless or whether they're in underserved neighborhoods, right? Neighborhoods that have been suffered from disinvestment, abandonment. As Illinois sees a 700% spike in abortion patients coming here for care, Chicago's steep hotel costs present another obstacle. We don't seem to have a problem with, and I'm not saying we should have a problem with housing migrants in hotels, right, Ed? But why should, if we're, a state here that's supposed to help women who are coming from other states with very draconian laws not respecting their healthcare rights, how is it that we can't figure out a way to solve the housing for women who are coming here that need to terminate pregnancies for whatever reason? Again, priorities and money. Yeah, we need to take care of the migrants, but we also need to take care of and figure out problems like this, because apparently these hotels are making really, really big bank with NASCAR and Taylor Swift. But when it comes, and they're making bank with, I guess, government resources, because I think that a lot of the funding that the Fed sent the city was to help pay for hotels to house migrants. But women who live here, who have a healthcare crisis and need to come to the state for their abortion rights, can't find housing. This comes from Kaylee Pedar at Blog Club Chicago. I mean, do you kind of see the point I'm making here with priorities, and we've got money for this, but we don't have money for that, and we should have money for all these things instead of picking and choosing here?
Yeah, I think part of it is that, they're using money that's already been allocated for certain things, and we're just hearing about it now. And then, but the situations get exacerbated when emergencies arise, like a whole bunch of migrants getting shipped to Chicago.
Yeah.
And so it turns into a concentrated problem or series of problems, and you want to know, okay, who's managing all the budgets and who's making sure the resources are available for all of these things and who's prioritizing them.
Yeah.
We haven't really had a chance to talk to anybody in city council or any representatives to really find out if anyone can give us an update on how are they managing these things. And so I'm hoping we'll be able to get somebody on to talk about this, or at least we'll be able to find somebody talking about what they're doing in maybe an interview video or an article. But it gets frustrated when all we see is these articles saying, here's another problem with how people are reacting to it now, but not really talking about what the grand plan or what they're prioritizing right now.
Yeah. And I'm not shedding light on this issue with suddenly we're giving migrants driver's licenses, although the insurance issue is an issue with migrants or citizens, so much as I'm pointing out the fact that where we say we don't have, for some people, we do have for other people. And what we do have for other people, I suspect, is a cynical ploy by Democrats in Illinois to make sure all of the look. I know that there's also an element of a humanitarian aid here, but I don't know, man. The rush to like, okay, we're giving them housing, we're giving them this. Let's give them driver's licenses now. I don't know that that's as much of a priority as like maybe figuring out how to, I don't know, find money to house women who have to come to Illinois who probably can't afford to come here to begin with for a medical emergency related to their choice with how to manage a pregnancy.
Well, like I said, there was funding allocated to doing that. I forget what the hell they call it. I think it's the article talks about it. The Chicago Abortion Fund. So there are funds that were specifically allotted because the Democrats failed to codify Roe versus Wade in the last 50 years and still have not done it.
And who could have done it when he had both houses?
Barry.
We showed his video. Last Tuesday, he could have codified it. He said he was going to codify it. It was his number one priority. Then we got in. It wasn't a priority to him anymore because he won. It's like that clip from Bulworth. If you're not donating to me, we'll say we're going to do this, but then when we get in, we're not going to do anything. In fact.
Any questions?
4 years ago, you promised us federal funding to rebuild our community. What happened?
Well, what happened was that we all knew that was going to be big news for a while, so we all came down here, Bush, Clinton, Wilson, all of us. We got our pictures taken, told you what you wanted to hear, and we pretty much forgot about it.
This is fair use. All right.
Yeah, I'm filing the appeals every week. It seems that Fox really doesn't want people to use little clip drop-ins from Bulworth. But let me get back to the article. But yeah, I mean, that's just, that just speaks for what we see in our elected representatives. 1 year after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, Illinois healthcare providers are treating more abortion patients than ever before. And big summer events in Chicago are pushing care providers' budgets to their max. Last week, Planned Parenthood of the St. Louis and Southwest Missouri region reported a 700% increase in abortion patients traveling to their Illinois clinic from outside of the bi-state region of Missouri and Illinois for care. The Chicago Abortion Fund has been covering people's travel costs and hotel stays as they trek to the city to receive abortions, which have been outlawed or restricted in neighboring states since that's a tongue twister. In neighboring states since the Supreme Court decision. Got it out. All the obstacles now in place for people seeking abortions, the latest one was less expected: Taylor Swift and NASCAR. These big events have made downtown hotel prices soar by hundreds of dollars, depleting the
gouge
organization's budget more quickly than in past years, said Megan JFO, executive director at the Chicago Abortion Fund. And I'm just going to throw in here, why should, if you're selling out all your hotels and you're filling your hotels and you're making your hotel money, why are you raising the prices when you're making money on the rooms that you're? I didn't realize hotels can like jack their price. I don't travel a lot, but I didn't realize that they could take advantage of the need for more rooms by jacking up the prices to squeeze more money out of people.
It's all systems based on demand. It's the same thing they do with rideshare right now. It's like, you find it's like a certain time of year, or in case of rideshare, a certain time of day, in a certain area where there's going to be a crowd of people or a lot of people needing either a hotel room or a ride home to a ride back and forth to a place. All of a sudden, you got what they call surge pricing in the gig economy, and so you want to get a mile up the road and you want like a car. All of a sudden, it's going to cost you $30. Like what? Why?
They call it surge pricing.
Yeah,
this is what I call it.
Yeah.
Blowjob! Blowjob! Blowjob!
Yep. That's what they call it.
That's what it really is. Because of the extreme increases in hotel costs, organizers had to send some people to other states to seek care. So they come here and then they get shipped to other states, the way Abbott is shipping migrants to Chicago and we're shipping them to Burr Ridge. Everybody's just like a musical chair right now. These costs cut into what we might be able to do for someone else, JFO said. It feels like it's going to be a very long and expensive summer. When Taylor Swift performed at Soldier Field June 2nd through the 4th, the average night stay at a hotel downtown went from about $200 to $800.
God.
Vampires. Capitalist vampires, JFO said. This weekend's upcoming NASCAR race has also increased hotel prices, but not to the same extent, JFO said. Although I'm understanding that despite the fact that the hotels want to jack up their prices, they're not making bank on hotel room reservations for NASCAR, because not a lot of people want to come down here for that bullshit. The increasing costs are worse than the organization has seen in past summers, with the sheer number of events, inflation, and boom in tourism following pandemic lockdowns all coming together to create the issue, JFO said. It's great we have all these large events coming to our city, but we need to consider all of the impacts they have, JFO said. Chicago is a hub for people seeking essential, highly politicized health care, and it's our responsibility to make sure that we're accessible for people traveling here. To mitigate these costs, organizers are trying to book hotel stays well in advance of major events. For example, hotel prices haven't surged yet for Beyonce's performances at Soldier Field July 22nd through the 23rd, so organizers hope to book rooms before the costs increase, JFO said. Just an added layer of like red tape bullshit that they've got to deal with to help these people coming to our city, because they've got, little wee governors in other states that don't want to give women their rights, because it's about control. They also plan to speak with the Illinois Hotel and Lodging Association about securing hotel rooms at a fixed rate, JFO said. The hospitality group did not respond to Block Club's request for comment.
Arturo says, someone asked ChatGPT how to make homelessness and abortion profitable. Yeah, I think they already did that.
Let's make a note and ask ChatGPT later. Yeah, I know. NASCAR and Taylor Swift tickets aren't cheap, so hotels milk it. I look, man, that we shelled out $24 to see Indy Jones on an IMAX screen yesterday was a luxury.
Yeah, it was.
$800 tickets to hear some woman sing. It went like almost like 2 blocks away from you inside of a stadium. I just don't see
$800 for the hotel room.
Oh, for the hotel room.
Just for one night in the hotel. That doesn't include your concert ticket,
No,
I don't think.
But I think concert tickets were going for upwards of like $1,000.
Oh, no, yeah, I have no idea how much those were, but I know a bunch of people were getting ripped off.
Yeah. Vanessa Bourgeon was a case manager for the Chicago Abortion Fund when hotel prices increased due to Swift's performance in early June. We didn't turn anybody away. We just had to get creative in finding people, places to stay, Bourgeon said. That meant we had to find hotels between 45 minutes and an hour away from clinics.
Yeah. So out in the suburbs. So the suburbs got the hotel money, not the city.
Well, and and you could just imagine what those commutes are like with. Look, what are the 2 seasons in Chicago? Winter and construction.
Yes, and it's never has it been more obvious than this year.
Yeah. I'm doing everything I can to avoid going anywhere near downtown this weekend, or into next Tuesday, or through the week actually, because even when NASCAR is over with, it's going to be a disaster down there with the breakdown. That meant we had to find hotels between 45 minutes and an hour away from clinics, which we try to avoid doing because people can be in a lot of discomfort after their appointments. I can understand that. So we try to keep the car ride short for them. It was frustrating because we try to keep our callers as comfortable as possible. Boran said the summer is usually chaotic when it comes to booking hotels and flights since more people are traveling, but she had never seen something like that. We do anticipate these things happening, so we try to plan in advance, and we've continued booking hotels regardless of the price, Boran said. We also try to leave wiggle room for other disruptions in travel. Look, I can go on and on and on. I think y'all kind of get the point of the story, but I just felt it was an ironic parallel or I don't know, ironic matter in relation to, we're going to rush through services for migrants to get driver's licenses, but women who are coming here, unless they plan this stuff months ahead of time, prioritizing care for everybody.
Well, yeah, and then it's a balance between medical tourism and then just general tourism.
Yeah.
And the fact that so many businesses, especially like hotels and hospitality, they're so desperate to get people to show up, but then they jack up the prices when they do, and you're hurting yourselves.
Yeah.
And I think I saw in the show notes we'll be talking a little further down about NASCAR. And that situation.
Yeah, NASCAR.
And I got a whole bunch more than 2 sets to talk about that situation.
Well, I don't even think I scratched the surface with the stories that I selected. But yeah, we're saving NASCAR for the end of the show because it takes us into our July 4th weekend, where I also have a Block Club Chicago story about events related to the 4th of July. Good luck if you can get to them, though, with how NASCAR is going to just completely disrupt everything downtown related to 4th of July festivities. So our next story, we reported on this Tuesday, and oh, what a shock. Turns out the prosecutors made false allegations to support now dropped murder charge. And remember when we talked about this, Ed, when we were reading that the prosecutor said, well, people said that she texted her kid, and I didn't even realize the kid was in the car. I thought she was texting her kid from at home who was in the neighborhood to get the gun and come in and shoot the guy who was assaulting her. No such text was made at all. That was all made up, which is why this woman has more than enough justification to sue the police and make her claim against the city for the false allegations that were drummed up to try to pin a murder charge on her. Now, this came from CWB Chicago. You hear the story the first time and you believe it. Then suddenly days later, you hear all these other details coming out. That's like, why didn't they wait to get these details? Why did they run with all that? Oh, I know, to smear this woman and make it look like she was an opportunist. And, she had, this was a bad faith attack that she always carried around her gun looking for the opportunity to shoot somebody, even though she was a Floyd carrying gun owner. And her kid was in the car and she was basically telling her kid to stay in the car. All right, this comes from CWB Chicago. Mom activist claimed prosecutors made false allegations to support now dropped murder charge. The woman who faced first-degree murder charges after prosecutors, not even the police, the prosecutors, said she encouraged her son to shoot a man who attacked her inside a Chicago fast food restaurant, spoke about what happened during a Facebook live stream on Wednesday night. During the feed, the woman and other participants contradicted the original version of events that prosecutors presented in court last week. Prosecutors charged Carlicia Hood and her 14-year-old son with first-degree murder 1 week ago, only to drop all charges Monday after a bystander's phone video went viral, giving the public a fuller view of what happened. Hood sued the city of Chicago and 5 Chicago police officers on Tuesday, claiming malicious prosecution, false arrest, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. The Cook County State's Attorney's Office, which approved the murder charge, is not named in the lawsuit. Citing high-quality surveillance video and audio, prosecutors last week said Hood went into the restaurant late on June 18th while her son waited in their car. At the service counter, Hood and a stranger, 32-year-old Jeremy Brown, got into an argument. Assistant State's Attorney Ann McCord said Hood texted her son and pointed at him as he sat in the car while the argument unfolded. The boy took Hood's firearm from the glove compartment. Hood is a concealed carry license holder and stood in the restaurant doorway, prosecutors alleged last week. When Brown violently punched Hood in the face, prosecutors said her son shot him in the back from across the restaurant. Hood revealed many details about her experiences over the past week during the Facebook live stream hosted by community activist Jedediah Brown. But one of the most surprising was this. Although prosecutors said her son stayed in the car while she went into the restaurant, Hood says she told her son to return to the car so he would not be exposed to the brewing argument. And remember my rush to judgment, Ed, when I said, why would she put her kid in a situation that would endanger the kid's life? She didn't. I was going on the fact that the prosecutors were painting that picture to smear her and make it look like they had a reason to charge her, to make her look bad.
So the question is, where did that story come from? Did somebody lie to the prosecutors, or did the prosecutors completely make it up? In which case, somebody's going to have a problem with the bar, aren't they?
Right. You would think. Near the end of the 36-minute long stream, Brown spoke with someone off screen, but the unseen person could not be heard clearly. Brown asked the person if they wanted to say it on camera, then personally provided a stunning claim. Hood never texted her son to ask him to do anything. That directly contradicts Prosecutor McCord's allegation in court that, quote, during the course of the verbal altercation, Hood began texting her son and pointing at him outside. Quote, she never told him. She never texted him. She never called him. She never asked him to do anything, Brown said. She protected her son. She told him to go to the car. At that point, Hood walked into camera view. For a fact,
Jerry, they could easily check her phone and her phone records to verify this.
Of course they could, and maybe they will. And maybe they're not doing that because it would contradict what the prosecutor claimed in court with the false allegations. For a fact, a big fact, and anybody who truly knows me, okay, my kids are my everything. I wouldn't dare have my son. I already knew something was off. But like I said, for the most part, I'd never put my kid in a situation like that. Neither of them, she said. I didn't even want my son to witness it. That's why I said go to the car, because he overheard the argument, Hood told viewers Wednesday. Brown appeared ready to say even more, but he abruptly ended the stream after a woman, possibly Hood, was heard crying off camera. I can imagine how emotionally distraught she was. I mean, do you know what it's like to be, maybe you don't, but to be accused of being a liar, and you know you've told the truth and you've got other people smearing you and doing everything they can to make you look wrong. And when finally you get vindication and the truth comes out, you can't help but literally be brought to tears because you never thought the truth would come out to help vindicate yourself. That's probably what happened here. She was heard crying off camera. Hood's claims stand in stark contrast to the state's initial allegation that she, quote, instructed her son to continue to shoot and kill Jeremy Brown as he fled the restaurant after being shot in the back. The prosecutor, McCord, said Hood also instructed her son to shoot a bystander inside the restaurant who had laughed at the altercation. He did not do that. Hood and her son got into their car and headed home after the shooting, McCord said. They turned themselves in last week after Chicago police released snippets of restaurant surveillance video and asked the public to help identify the woman and gunman. The allegations against Hood began falling apart when a bystander's video of the altercation provided more detail about what happened. And let's see if
is there no accountability for this prosecutor? I mean, where did they get this information from? Did they seriously just pull it out of their ass?
You just beat me to the punch. That's exactly what I was just about to say. They just pulled it out of their ass. Let me see if I can get this video up, which also says the following media includes potentially sensitive content, but I don't think we're a bunch of snowflakes, so I wouldn't worry about it. Let's see if it plays.
Viewer discretion advised.
Get your food!
to know what the conversation was before the camera started rolling that got this whole thing.
Well, we might never know because I think whoever started rolling the camera was reacting to what was unfolding.
Obvious, yeah. It's going to be rare that you're actually catching lightning in a bottle with some of these videos. It's amazing.
Well, it's an afterthought. Suddenly someone sees something's happening. It's like, shit's getting real. Maybe I ought to pull out the phone and because nobody expects it's going to escalate to that degree.
But it's
hope not.
It's like, what was this dude's problem in the first place? It's like, was she taking too long to get her food, and so he couldn't get his food? Was it something even dumber? We don't know.
And now he's dead because he had to wait for his food. Because he lost his shit.
No, because he lost his crap and punched a woman.
Respectfully, yeah. Lady, get your food, Jeremy Brown yells as the clip begins. Hood appears to tell Brown to get back in his car. Who? Get in the car, Brown yells, balling up his right hand. Get your food. If you say one more thing, I'm going to knock you out. They continue to exchange words for a couple of seconds. I'm going to knock you out, Brown says as he lands a full force punch on Hood, who's out of camera view. Say one more thing, I'm going to knock you out, Brown threatened before punching Hood 2 more times. As the third punch is thrown, a gunshot is heard. So that's going to be one to pay more attention to, Ed.
Yeah, I imagine more information is going to come out on the background of this guy, and if he had family, if there was a bad living situation with his family, that I hope. It's sad when anybody gets killed, and it's not anything to really celebrate.
No, it's not. This was a tragedy that unfolded. It should have never happened. This guy, obviously, look, I'm not going to say the guy was asking for it, but he escalated a situation that didn't need to escalate. And unfortunately, this is what you then see happening. And then, in a rush to judgment, everybody wants to paint her as like some villain who decides to tell her kid to come in the store and gun this guy down. It's like the kid was probably what was he, 11 or 14?
I think 14.
14. Sees his mother attacked.
And I don't know anything about the kid, but I feel bad for any kid who has to take a gun and kill somebody. That's going to scar you for life, regardless of how many times you may or may not have done that.
Definitely. Yeah, there's going to be a lot more fallout from that. And it seems that I've got to open up my archive to get to our next story from the New York Times.
Looks like I'll have to do the same to follow along.
Yeah. Hey, everybody, stand by. was getting some browser freeze, Ed, not brain freeze, but browser freeze. Yeah, I don't
that's
know
never
what's going on
fun.
this end, but suddenly the looks like the IT.
Well, if you need some help, my stream's working at the moment, so I've got it ready if you need some help.
Okay, the article's coming up. Why don't you share the picture from the article? This is we're going into our national news coverage section of the show, ladies and gentlemen, because while so much time is being spent, and rightfully so, on the Trump scandals, we're going to give equal time to the Biden scandals that mainstream news seems to be ignoring, despite the fact that there's mounting evidence that the Bidens are and have been as crooked as Trump and his family throughout
Burisma.
Generations. Who did you cough to?
Burisma.
Who's that?
Burisma's the Ukrainian.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this comes from the New York Times. Before we move into the Biden crime family stuff, we're talking about the student loan stuff. Okay. I'm sorry, I mixed my stories up. We're going to get to Bot Joe and Bot Hunter in a moment, but this story took a lot of prominence this week. Yeah. So, as reported by the New York Times, everybody knows student loans decisions. The student loans decision unravels one of Biden's signature efforts. President Biden has a new challenge: how to respond to the disappointment of millions of his supporters whose thousands of dollars in debt is coming due. This is from Michael D. Scheer at the New York Times. The Supreme Court's rejection on Friday of President Biden's student debt relief plan instantly unravels one of the president's signature efforts and ratchets up the pressure on him to find a new way to make good on a promise to a key constituency as the 2024 presidential election campaign gets underway. When Mr. Biden announced last summer that his government would forgive up to $20,000 in federal student loan debt, student advocacy groups and many progressives cheered the move, which was projected to help 40 million people and cost $400 billion. People can start finally to climb out from under that mountain of debt, Mr. Biden said. His plan, which came after months of agonizing about who it would benefit and whether it was too costly, would have been a centerpiece of his argument to voters that his economic agenda is designed to help low and middle income Americans blaze a path to greater prosperity. Instead, a majority of the justices agreed with critics who said the president's debt relief plan went beyond the president's authority under congressional legislation, allowing changes to student loans during a public emergency. A White House official said Friday that Mr. Biden would soon denounce the court ruling and make it clear that he would continue to fight for debt relief. The official said the president would announce new actions to protect student loan borrowers. So, Ed, this is what confuses me about this. Okay.
Yeah.
We've talked about, you've shed a lot of light on the kabuki theater of the debt ceiling and that the government can just make money when it wants to. We got money for Ukraine, the military. I seem to be familiar with a little phrase called executive order, which is like done.
Well, here's the thing, is that Biden wanted to do it through some congressional funding thing because the Democrats, all they do is it's just theater and delays, and they want to make it look like they're doing things when they know that they're going to get blocked one way or another, so they don't have to do them. Okay. Yes, Jerry, we know that Congress, if it had the political will, could pay to do anything it wants, including paying off all the banks.
They could just forgive it all. Be done. Yeah. You know what?
No,
that's the other executive order. We're printing the money. We recognize that you students, you're our future. We want you to be smart. We want you to get good paying jobs, contribute to our economy, to our progress. Education costs too much money. You shouldn't be crippled with this debt your whole life. Penn, done. He's playing the games here.
Well, yes, but here's the other thing, Jerry. The other thing is they didn't have to do it this way. Like you said, he could have done an executive order because there is this thing called the Higher Education Act of 1965. And I'm lucky to have a lot of smart people that I follow on Twitter, like this guy named Rob Durden. And he posted, he's like in section 432A of the Higher Education Act of 1965, via executive order, the president can tell the Secretary of Education to discharge student loan debt.
One and done.
Done. Now, they could argue that that may only affect federal student loans. So if somebody has private loans out that aren't like, what is it, Fannie Mae or Freddie Mae or whatever the hell.
Freddie Mac,
whatever the student loans are managed by, then maybe the people who have private student loans are still up Schitt's Creek. But they could still, but then that part of the deal could be taken care of by a willing Congress, willing to basically pass the funding to pay off everyone else's student loan debt as well, and establish education in this nation as a free, federally funded thing so that we never have to do this bullshit again.
And you know why people argue against that, Ed? Because
capitalism.
They paid their student loans, so why should other people get away? Well, here's a reason. Your student loans from prior generations didn't literally cost the price of a house, number one. Number two, if you said you had cancer and you had cancer treatment, but that you paid for, but someone who has cancer should have to pay for their treatment, why would you want to put the same burden on somebody instead of say, you know what? Yeah. It really sucked I had to pay for my cancer treatment. It really sucked I had to pay for my education, but I did it. And I recognize that given the state of the world today and how insurmountable the cost of education is, it shouldn't cost this much to begin with, that anybody should be denied it or crippled with that kind of debt. I'd rather see people not stuck with that than bellyache because I had to take care of it. Why aren't other people? Because it's all about me.
Yeah, I mean, people from America go to other countries to get free education, free college, because other countries don't do this crap. It's only because America has had the bootstrap brain for the past 60, 70 years that they feel that capitalism and for a profit motive is the only way to do anything ever, because that's the only thing they've ever known.
Land of the free.
It just warps your brain, guys. Some of you out there right now are shaking your heads going, though they should have to pay for this and they should have to pay for that. No, and you shouldn't have either.
Yeah.
But why do you want to
figure out a way to relieve people? We should figure out a way to make it easier than make it harder, because we had it harder. This whole everybody grows character and gains character from struggling, from their experiences, from growth, but we've been brainwashed that the only way to success is struggle, despair, sacrifice, struggle, and despair. That's part of it. But it seems that's been prioritized as far as what everybody has to go through to get to a better place. And you know what? Those who are born in families with generational wealth or have the advantage of white privilege on their side, or other opportunities that others don't, they don't have to go through that struggle. That emphasis on struggle is basically to make everybody feel like or believe that everybody goes through it, so you should settle for the same thing. We should be demanding better is what we should be doing instead of settling for less.
Okay, we've got a breaking news update on this story now.
Okay.
I'm looking into the news articles because I'm seeing replies to some of the stuff. I'm like, okay. It says Biden says he will try to do student loan forgiveness under the Higher Education Act of 1965. Well, what the hell were you waiting for? Why did you do it this way the first time? So, and here it's like he's saying he will try, and also, they're going to half-ass it, right?
Of course they are.
They're going to pick and choose who they want to forgive the student.
It's going to be means tested.
And then they're going to just restart let the other ones just restart while they let people beg for them to give them student loan forgiveness and say, well, I guess you'll have to vote for me in order to get us to forgive everybody else's student loans, in which case they're not going to do it. So seriously, dump the duopoly. I would vote third party.
Mr. President, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate
it's great to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Don't go anywhere. It's a very exciting day around here. We'll have reaction and analysis to everything we just heard.
That's his priority. All right, let me get back to the article. Breaking news also for anybody that didn't know, beloved actor Alan Arkin passed away today. I think he was in his 80s.
Yeah, rest in peace, Alan Arkin. I think he started his career out in Second City in Chicago, actually.
Great actor.
I don't think he's from Chicago originally. I'll have to look up his bio. But he did start his career in Chicago at Second City. And he was a great, super great actor. Wasn't he the psychiatrist in that movie with Bill Murray?
No, that was Richard Dreyfuss.
Oh, that was Richard Dreyfuss. He was
in Glengarry Glen Ross, though.
Oh no! That he was the psychiatrist in the John Cusack movie, Grosse Point Blank.
Oh, that's right. That was a great one.
Yeah.
Good movie. Another good movie for your viewing list, everybody.
Yeah.
All right, so let me get back to the article, though. That challenge for Mr. Biden and his advisors is exactly how to respond to the disappointment of millions of his supporters who again face the daunting prospect of paying back tens of thousands of dollars in debt they accumulated for college. For much of the last year, administration officials have refused to say whether they were working on a plan B, because of course they weren't.
No.
You know why they weren't working on a plan B, Ed? It was ice cream time.
No,
that's right.
Mr. President, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's great to have you.
Thank you.
I'm going to have to put that in our drop-in list from here on out.
Yeah, it'll run a little smoother. I pasted in the private chat the article that I just pulled up here, which essentially explains what I just got through explaining to you about the Higher Education Act of 1965, which is.
Well, why don't you bring it up and share it with us? Let's have Ed read from this.
Okay, I can do
give my buffering a break here since I'm having little hiccups here on my end.
So here, this one comes from Reason.com. There were a bunch of news articles. I just picked this one because it was the closest. Biden says he will try to do student loan forgiveness under the Higher Education Act of 1965. Yeah, I'm emphasizing the word try because, they're going to try to not do it. And the only reason why they're even bringing it up now is because SCOTUS said no, and then everybody's been already screaming at them for months that they should have done it this way.
Ed, try? There is no try. Do or do not. There is no try.
Thank you, Master Yoda Vasilatos, or Master Vasilatos Yoda. Do they reverse the names as well? I forget. So, just a few hours after the Supreme Court invalidated his $400 billion student loan forgiveness plan, for which the administration claimed authorization under the HEROES Act of 2003, President Biden announced he will try to push through a loan forgiveness under the Higher Education Act of 1965 instead. Well, he will have better luck doing that than he will under the HEROES Act. Just because it's specifically that clause was specifically designed for this purpose. He can just tell the Secretary of Education, look, we're gonna forgive all those loans. Why? Because they're federally funded, and the federal government never, ever, ever needs your money. Never. They don't ever need it. Hours after the ruling, Biden announced his administration will be taking a new route. The Education Department filed a notice on Friday to begin the regulatory process. That'd be today. Of using the Higher Education Act in 1965 to cancel student debt, which does not require relying on a national emergency.
Pause for a moment, though, Ed. This is what just makes me laugh about this other article I was reading from. The statement, for much of the last year, administration officials have refused to say whether they were working on a plan B in the event the Supreme Court rejected the president's plan. I don't think they were working on a plan B. They just
of course not.
No, this is going to go through.
No,
we're going to have to hope for the best, plan for the worst.
It's the same game plan over and over again. They promise you stuff right before the election. Then when they get elected or reelected, they tell you all the reasons why they can't do the stuff that they promised, and that, well, I guess you'll just have to keep voting for us so we can keep trying. and then they'll keep not doing things for you. Seriously, dump the duopoly. Hashtag dump the duopoly on everything you do on social media.
Ooh, I like this one. This needs to be a hashtag.
Say no to Joe.
Hashtag say no to Joe. I like that, Miguel.
Say no.
Great.
Hashtag
motto.
dump the duopoly. Let's see if my typing skills are working. Oh, yeah, I didn't. Oh, I almost got it. I put a space in the say no to Joe. It should be one word there, but okay.
Even after several justices expressed deep skepticism during oral arguments earlier this year, Mr. Biden and his aides continue to insist they had confidence in the legality of the debt relief plan and would not say whether they were working on an alternative. In fact, advocates believe there are ways for the federal government to provide debt relief to some students, even in the wake of the court's ruling. The administration has already been offering help to some students using public service loan forgiveness, a program which provides debt relief to people who work full-time for state, local, federal, or nonprofit organizations. The administration has already said it will make more use of existing programs that allow lower-income people to adjust their repayment plans based on their income. Hey, Warren, thanks for that. $2 super chat from Extra Bulla. Warren, thank you.
Thanks, Warren.
I saw an interview with Obama. I guess he's over in Greece, and Cristiano Amanpour interviewed him while he was extolling the virtues of what a great presidency President Joe Biden was providing. And I think I saw that. I think it was Sabby Sabs who was sharing the clip, and she had made the remark that we're not looking at an election, ladies and gentlemen, by the Democrats. We're looking at a selection. There's no election here with Biden. It's a selection. Dems are going to select it. And by the way, Obama was referencing the fact that there was no strife within the Democratic Party. And if there was, that would probably be dealt with. She speculated, and I kind of agree. And Obama will make a phone call. Because
we already know that he will.
Yeah, we know he will.
They started out telling everybody, we're not even going to have debates.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, yeah, RFK, dude, don't even waste your time running as a Dem then, if you're serious about running for president. But he's doing it.
Well, he's got to take that. Well, he's got to take that path of the statesman, because look, the Kennedys have a lifelong legacy in Democratic politics.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
it's a liability though for him to follow that same path, because that's what came before. You have to do the same thing over and over again as the definition of insanity. That's what Bernie Sanders was doing, trying to change the party from within. Break out, man. You're not going to change it from within anymore. That's why I think I'm hoping if Cornel West, has a successful run as a third-party candidate with the Greens and gets on the ballot in all states, it can give the establishment a real run for its money. And that's a lot of money.
So here, just one more thing. I'm going to read the part where it's about the Higher Education Act. It says, the Higher Education Act states that the Education Department can, quote, enforce, pay, compromise, waive, or release any right, title, claim, lien, or demand related to federal student debt. So literally, there's no wiggle room there. If they want to waive that student debt, it's gone. The courts can't do crap about it.
Yeah. That's their wiggle room, like you said.
But like I said, it only applies to federal student debt. So
the administration,
if you took out private loans for your education, it's not going to apply to that.
The administration has already said it will make more use of existing programs that allow lower income people who can't afford it to begin with to adjust their repayment plans based on their income or lack thereof.
Yeah, it's a scam. It's like they've got this tool. They could wipe out everyone's debt with the stroke of a pen and the snap of some fingers, and maybe an ice cream cone for Joe if he's good. But they're gonna drag this out. They're gonna look at whatever.
Don't go anywhere. It's a very exciting day around here.
they're going to go with the same kayfabe they were doing the first time around when they were talking about student loan debt. And whoever they had qualified the first time around are probably going to be the first groups of people that are going to get their loans waived. And then everyone else is still going to be playing the waiting game, and they'll do some dumb Democratic student loan forgiveness lottery or some other bullshit instead of just getting rid of the debt. And they're going to tie it to the election.
Of course they are. They're going to bamboozle people, shake it
and
around.
if I were you,
Pull it out from under you.
and if I were you, and you have student debt, and you were counting on this loan forgiveness, and now they pulled the Supreme Court pulled the rug out from under you, and hey Oreo, and now they're going to take the Higher Education Act clause that they are quite capable of just doing away with all of your debt with a stroke of pen and play more games. That should make you furious and never want to vote for a Democrat ever again.
Well, Ed, we're going to be talking about the fact that France is on fire in a little while, and the fact that mainstream media over here has been paying more attention to what happened in Russia with the phony overthrow or the phony coup, because you don't want people in America to see what's happening in France, because we might get some ideas. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, well, France. I'll give it to France. They know their revolutions very well.
They do them right.
They got a really good wine and food game, and their language it's tongue-twistingly impossible for me to even attempt, which is impressive.
Well, let me continue up this article before we go into the next story about the Biden crime family. As we said, the existing debt relief programs are more targeted and affect a far smaller population of people. They're not likely to satisfy the frustration of tens of millions of people who had expected their financial situation to improve dramatically under Mr. Biden's I'm going to add promised plan, because that's why everybody voted for him. It was a promise that he didn't keep or didn't have any sense of how to.
Speaking of, he still owes me $600.
He owes all of us $600, Ed. And millions of people with federal student loans are about to get another financial shock this fall when the years-long pause on repayment of existing loans ends. The federal government, under former President Donald J. Trump, imposed the pause on repayments at the beginning of the pandemic as businesses shut their doors and millions of people lost their jobs. Mr. Biden renewed the pause several times since taking office, but it said it will not be renewed again now that the pandemic has largely ended. Payments are set to resume in October, putting new pressure on the very debt holders that Mr. Biden's forgiveness plan was designed to help. One question for Mr. Biden is whether those who are disappointed will blame him or the Supreme Court when they go to the ballot box next year. During his 2020 campaign, Mr. Biden vowed to eliminate some student debt, saying during a town hall even that, quote, I'm going to make sure that everybody in this generation gets $10,000 knocked off their student debt as we try to get out of this god-awful pandemic. Woohoo, $10,000. Once in office, many Democrats, including Senator Chuck Schumer of New York, a.k.a. Chucky the Shoe, implored Mr. Biden to go even further, urging the president to wipe away as much as $50,000 per person in student debt as a way of helping middle-income people who are struggling financially. Well, I'll give it to Chuck there. At least he did something right, but fell on deaf ears. After Mr. Biden announced his plan last summer, student activists said the plan would energize young people to support the president.
No.
That support could be in doubt in the wake of the Supreme Court's ruling. All right. So I mentioned earlier, I kind of jumped the story, forgetting we were covering the student loan debt story regarding the Hunter Biden IRS scandal and the charges that have been put forth. Look, man, they're covering up and they're protecting their own. Now, this comes from the Ways and Means .house.gov website. Testimony of IRS employees reveal Biden IRS Department of Justice interfered in tax investigation of Hunter Biden, revealing preferential treatment for the wealthy and politically connected. Big surprise. A Ways and Means Committee executive meeting resulted in a vote to release to the public whistleblower testimony of 2 different IRS employees who worked directly on the tax evasion case of Hunter Biden. That testimony outlines misconduct and government abuse of the Internal Revenue Service and the Federal Bureau of Investigation in the investigation of Hunter Biden. The allegations point to a steady campaign of unequal treatment of enforcing tax law, Department of Justice, DOI, interference in the form of delays, divulgences, and denials into the investigation of tax crimes that may have been committed by the president's son, and finally, retaliation against IRS employees who blew the whistle on the misconduct. Now look, isn't it interesting that they're being prevented from going after him on not paying his taxes? The bigger part of the story no one's talking about is like, where did all that fucking money come from that he owed taxes on to begin with? That's the heart of the scandal, is the payoffs and the money that he was getting while his dad was vice president under Obama, getting all of these payments and honorariums from gas and oil companies in Eastern Europe, as if he had any experience with that kind of business, kicking money up to his father. Don't doubt that that's exactly what happened, and that's exactly why the IRS's hands have been chained into pursuing what they're pursuing against him and all this preferential treatment, because the fish rots from the head down, and the head of the fish is Melty Joe. Ways and Means Committee Chairman Jason Smith released the following statement. Today, the Ways and Means Committee voted to make public the testimony of IRS employees blowing the whistle on misconduct at the IRS and the Biden Department of Justice regarding unequal enforcement of tax law, interference, and government abuse in the handling of investigations into criminal activity by President Biden's son, Hunter Biden, and retaliation against IRS employees blowing the whistle on this abuse. The American people deserve to know that when it comes to criminal enforcement, they're not on the same playing field as the wealthy and politically connected class. Well, tell us something we don't know, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
The preferential treatment Hunter Biden received would never have been granted to ordinary Americans. You think? Whistleblowers describe how the Biden Justice Department intervened and overstepped in a campaign to protect the son of Joe Biden by delaying, divulging, and denying an ongoing investigation into Hunter Biden's alleged tax crimes. Well, why stop at the tax crimes? Why not go further? But they can't even go further with investigating the tax crimes with the way he's trying to be protected. The testimony shows tactics used by the Justice Department to delay the investigation long enough to reach the statute of limitations. Evidence they divulged sensitive actions by the investigative team to Biden's attorneys and denied requests by the U.S. attorney to bring charges against Biden. IRS employees who blew the whistle on this abuse were retaliated against despite a commitment IRS Commissioner Werfel made before the Ways and Means Committee to uphold their legal protections. They were removed from this investigation after they responsibly worked through the chain of command to raise these concerns. Trump does it, Biden does it. They all do it. Do you know how much money Trump made charging the U.S. taxpayers to use his hotels and stuff while he was president? All of the little perks that his companies got, because once he was president, all those contracts went to the businesses he owned, hotels in other countries that he traveled to and stayed in.
I remember screaming about the emoluments clause, but nobody cares about that anymore.
Yep. The committee has acted in good faith with participation from Democrats and Republicans, as the issues raised today ought to be a bipartisan concern. Hopefully, we can find a path forward to continue to go where the facts lead us if the federal government is not treating all taxpayers equally, or if it is changing the rules to engineer a preferred outcome. Congress has a duty to ask why and to hold agencies accountable and consider appropriate legislative action. The scales of justice must not be skewed in favor of the wealthy and the politically connected. Okay, I agree, but you know what? With the Republicans in charge, they'd be doing the same fucking thing. We know this. What the committee has learned: the federal government is not treating all taxpayers the same and providing preferential treatment to the wealthy and well-connected, including the son of the President of the United States. The Department of Justice interfered in the investigation into Hunter Biden's clear tax issues with a delay, divulge, and deny campaign that ultimately shielded him by allowing the statute of limitations to pass on his tax crimes.
Yeah.
IRS employees worked through the chain of command to blow the whistle on this misconduct, only to be met with hostility and retaliation, leading them to come to the Ways and Means Committee. All right, so that's that story. Talking about, do as I say, do as I say, not as I do. I came across this video on Twitter that was shared by Glenn Greenwald that I'm going to try to play from I do have it on my desktop here, that nobody should forget. You got it if you need it. Yeah, why don't you play it from there? Let's see if it plays cleanly on your end.
Okay.
Before you start it, watching Joe Biden and his media allies exploit good faith compassion towards addicts. Watching Joe Biden and his media allies exploit good faith compassion towards addicts to shield him from questions about corrupt transactions involving his son is one of the most cynical scams I've seen in a while. How many addicts to Joe Biden in prison? How many has he pardoned? This speaks to the fact that for decades, Joe Biden has been the hammer of justice on drug addicts. Suddenly,
there's this
his son, all is forgiven, son. All is forgiven. Where's my ice cream?
There's this video floating around where it's a split screen where Joe Biden's on the left in his years in Congress, I think probably in the 80s, talking about all this stuff that they're doing with the crime bill and then prosecutions and how, people need to be held accountable. And on the right side of the screen, it's video of Hunter snorting coke,
love it.
All like stuff from his laptop. And
well, look,
hilarious.
There's also a question in regards to sex crimes Hunter Biden has committed with minors. There's a lot of speculation around the fact that a lot of these pictures on his laptop seem to be with young women who might not be of age. And that, along with where did the money come from that they're trying to tax him on? Where did that money come from? It came from criminal conduct. It came from money that, he was on phone calls talking about his dad this, his dad that, so he could get his money that he was also, carving apart out to pass up to his dad. But this is particularly egregious and just unacceptable. And what Greenwald reports here, as far as Joe in the past with drug addicts and how suddenly those kind of punitive measures don't really matter against someone who should have the hammer on him, first and foremost.
What makes this part of the story so repulsive to me is that Joe Biden has long been one of the nation's hardest core warriors on criminalizing addicts and punishing drug users. He's the architect of the prison state. Throughout the 80s and 90s, he prided himself on getting to the right of Republicans on questions of criminal law and drug use. He was adamant that drug users and drug addicts.
I mean, it couldn't be any simpler than this. If Hunter Biden were not Joe Biden's son, he'd be in a penitentiary right now. Yeah. He'd be doing time for whatever was on his laptop with these young girls, and for him photographing himself breaking the law with drug abuse, with illegal drug use.
Yeah, and that's just scratching the surface.
It's the tip of the iceberg. Or the tip of the crack rock.
Be sent to prison for many years, saying we're not doing enough to send addicts to prison. So when it came to other people's families and their struggles with addiction and their kids' struggles with addiction, Biden had no compassion at all. He wanted to send these people to prison for a long time. Here's Joe Biden in 1991 on the floor of the Senate giving a speech on exactly this question.
Let's look at the facts. Since 1986, Congress has passed over 230 new or expanded penalties for drug and criminal offenses in this United States. 230 new penalties. And these penalties range from an automatic 5 years in jail for any person caught with a rock of crack cocaine, a piece of crack cocaine as small as a quarter. I don't have a quarter with me, but if you visualize what one looks like, yeah, I do have a quarter.
I don't have a quarter with me either, but that's because I'm broke.
Piece of crack cocaine, no bigger than this quarter that I'm holding in my hand, 1/4 of $1. We passed.
This performative crap has been going on for decades.
Yep. Hey, you know what?
This all for
you know what,
C-SPAN.
Ed? I think drug addicts should get help. I think there should be rehab and counseling for them. Okay.
Yeah.
In Hunter Biden's case, aside from the fact that he's clearly committed crimes, other crimes that aren't related to his drug abuse, he should be given an opportunity. Well, he doesn't want it. Number one, he's not. He certainly has no remorse for what he's done, nor does he think he has a problem. But the point is, Melty Joe, if you're going to penalize other drug addicts, you need to exercise the same kind of justice against your own son, or admit drug addicts need help and rehab, and stop making money off of criminalizing their drug abuse so that the private prison complex can continue to make money off of tragedies in people's lives with nonviolent drug crimes.
Yeah, but that's just for the poors, Jerry. That's not for us. That's not for us rich people. The ones that are friends with all the banks and stuff. I just want to make the poors mad and sad.
What an asshole!
Has anybody seen my keys? Did you guys hear an ice cream truck?
Well, I don't have it queued up.
It's okay. We'll have to get that as a
I'll add that
clip for future.
So let's watch the rest of Punitive Joe here. Back when he was plagiarizing other people's speeches and stuff. He's
plagiarizing his own speeches now. Well, I got a video for you if you want. Well,
this was during the phase where he was plagiarizing other people's speeches, as well as claiming law school accolades and degrees and stuff that he didn't have. He was overstating his academic background.
It's an understatement to say he was overstating.
Yeah. He's a liar.
Law, the
liar, then he's a liar now.
Thurman and myself and others, a law that says you're caught with that, you go to jail for 5 years. You get no probation. You get nothing other than 5 years in jail.
We should remind everybody that the CIA created crack cocaine. They created this epidemic so that basically they could sow division and create problems and help Joe
in inner city communities
and help Joe with his damn crime bill. I'm assuming. I'm alleging.
Don't text that publicly, Warren. Joe might come after you.
But yeah,
that was
for him to go. Yeah, it's if you get found with this stuff that we made, started dropping into poor neighborhoods so that we could pass a crime bill, you're going away for a long time.
Judge doesn't have a choice. Now, the fact of the matter is,
he's boasting of that.
Yeah.
That was something he did with his good friend Strom Thurmond.
His good friend.
The Jim Crow segregationist.
Robert Byrd, the other KKK.
They passed this law that said, as he just explained, if you have a tiny little bit of crack on your possession, you're going to prison for 5 years. The judge has no discretion. You're getting locked up. Even if you committed no violence, even if you never sold any crack to anybody else, just having it on you to use sends you to prison for 5 years. And you see him smirking with pride over how many families' children who are addicts he sent to prison. And now he feigns compassion because his own son is in that position, but he's not advocating a uprooting of this law. It was President Trump, actually, who passed the first criminal justice reform bill in a long time, working with the ACLU. He's not using his pardon power to let out huge numbers of people who are in prison on drug charges the way President Trump did at Kim Kardashian's urging regarding Alice Johnson. He's just exploiting these sentiments around addiction to avoid answering questions about business deals involving his son, and even accusing people who raise questions of it of somehow stigmatizing addiction. Let's listen to the rest of the speech.
Pause
We've
it for a
gone
second,
from
Ed,
there all the way up to
before we go
say,
on the show. Warren, and that would have been the grand finale of Pride Month, too. I would have looked forward to Robert Byrd and Strom Thurmond bursting into flames.
Bursting into flames.
At the end of Pride Month. That's the grand finale to the month's festivities.
Yeah, and Warren also reminded us that Gary Webb exposed the CIA's drug operations regarding crack, and that he was killed for it. And if memory serves, and I got a Swiss cheese brain, so you may have to look this up. If memory serves, they said that he had committed suicide but had 2 bullet holes in his head. Two shots.
They all commit suicide.
Yes, he shot himself twice in the head. No. That's not how... Okay.
That's not how it works.
It doesn't work like that. Yes, Warren says spontaneously combusting old racists make great fireworks. We'll take your word for that. I've never actually seen it.
And even better use afterwards with their lifeless corpses being used as piñatas.
Yeah, I mean we're getting dark, aren't we? We're getting pretty dark.
I'm always dark, Ed.
I think all the drugs and alcohol are kicking in, Jerry.
No, they're numbing me up.
No, okay. All right, well, let's play the rest of this, right?
Under the leadership of Senator Thurmond, and I'd like to suggest that I take some small credit for it myself as well, and others, the presiding officer.
He's bragging about it.
There is now a death penalty.
Oh,
and
good.
we passed it a couple years ago.
He's proud
if
of
you
the
are
death
a major
penalty.
drug dealer involved in the trafficking of drugs and murder results in your activities.
So much for Hunter.
You go to death. And
all right, so that's
wow.
Yeah.
So why isn't Hunter on death row?
How he always positioned himself in his career. He wasn't some person saying, "Oh, we have to be understanding about addiction and treat it as a disease, and that we should be proud of people who overcome it." He said, "We're going to send them to prison for years."
Well, that's the end of that clip. I don't know if there's another part of that. Nope.
Thank you very much. It's great to have you. Thank you. Don't go anywhere. It's a very exciting day around here.
It sure is. I'm trying to get the link loaded for the next story on. I don't know why Twitter takes so long to load in a browser. I don't have anything else open, but I think you've got it open.
Yeah, you got a weird thing going on with your Twitter there. But
Yeah.
I can load those tabs up.
Yeah, I was looking at the France on Fire.
The one from Kim.com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Kim.com shares the Western media had 24-hour coverage of the Wagner Group mutiny in Russia. Now France is on fire, and there's almost no coverage in the Western media. Why? Because they don't want people in the West to get bad ideas.
Yeah, they don't want anybody getting any ideas because, they might actually do some of them. Well, let's take a look at the video.
Wesh. Au nom de Dieu.
Wow.
Ah non, c'est délicat, c'est vrai.
Oh! Wesh!
Holy cow.
Wesh!
Wow.
Shit's getting real. Why aren't we seeing this? Why aren't we seeing more of this on our mainstream news as opposed to the Wagner coup that the United States thought was going to bring down Putin?
They won't even show a live Trump rally. They're so afraid of anyone getting any live information and using their own heads and their own critical thinking skills to take in information that won't possibly show this on mainstream television.
I'm going to send you a link in the private chat, Ed. I've got the CNN story open on this end, but I'm not confident that the video will play. So there's a CNN. I believe it's probably a little segment along with the article, but if not, it's got some more B-roll.
Okay, well, you can be guaranteed that CNN's not playing this on their actual broadcast channel. It's like I'm shocked that there's any content on CNN.
I mean, it's every week I see more stuff out of France, and it looks like the whole fucking country's on fire. This is with the regularity of these kinds of videos coming out from there.
Protests are sweeping France. Here's what you need to know.
Don't get any ideas, Americans.
Ooh, I should play the video you want me to try to play?
Yeah, let's see if we can play that.
Hopefully there's no ad in front of this.
But you know there will be.
July 4th, a CNN concert event.
Ooh, a concert!
Ooh,
fireworks!
Celebrating our independence, celebrating the revolution that we engaged in, that we should probably learn a lot from and resume.
Police in France say they arrested nearly 700 people on the third night of protests over the police killing of a teenage boy. Confrontations flared between protesters and police in the Paris suburb of Nanterre, where the 17-year-old named Nahel was killed on Tuesday. Chaotic and violent scenes played out in cities around the country late on Thursday into Friday. The French Interior Ministry says nearly 250 police officers and gendarmes were injured. Daylight is bringing new images showing the result of that unrest. This is The View from one street in Paris. CNN's Nick Robertson joins me now from Aubervilliers in the suburbs of northern Paris. It's spreading, isn't it? And the police don't look like they're particularly in control.
Yeah, 667 people arrested, Max, across the country. You only have to look at the map of fire around Paris to see that the center of Paris is encircled by this sort of Gulf of Fire. But if you go to Lille in the north or Roubaix in the north, trouble there, violence overnight. If you go to Nantes in the west, further southwest in Bordeaux, or go to Marseille in the south or Lyon in the center of the country, the violence is spreading out. The 40,000 police were on alert overnight last night in the country, but it didn't stop the violence at this bus station here. I think maybe Claudia can get you a better live picture here looking in. Overall in this...
I'm pausing this really quickly just to mention that they're talking about how it's protests over police killing, but the reporters keep talking about violence, violence, violence. How about addressing the fact that cops killed a kid just for fleeing?
Yeah, that's in the here. Let me read from the article while we pause this video. What sparked the protests? A police officer shot dead the teenager Nahel, who was of Algerian heritage, during a traffic stop in the Paris suburb of Nanterre earlier this week. Footage of the incident, captured by a passerby, showed two officers standing on the driver's side of the car, one of whom discharged his gun at the driver despite not appearing to face any immediate threat. It seems the French police are learning from the American police, Ed. They feared for their lives. The officer said he fired his gun because he was scared the boy would run someone over with the car, Nanterre prosecutor Pascal Prache said. Prache said it is believed the officer acted illegally in using his weapon. He is currently facing a formal investigation for voluntary homicide and has been placed in preliminary detention. Now, I didn't realize that the French get as up in arms about this kind of stuff over there as we do over here. It's just we haven't taken it to the next level, although we have during the Floyd protests. But
France, they have no tolerance for fascism and authoritarianism. They are going to get into the streets if you pull the kind of crap that the cops in America pull.
Well, we have gotten into the streets too, but those protests are quickly quelled, unfortunately.
I mean,
before real change,
they will stay in the streets.
Yeah,
I mean, they were in the streets. I don't know if they're still in. Because they were going to raise the retirement age by 2 years in France.
Right.
So it doesn't take a lot. But the truth is, more people in more countries should be out in the streets the way the guys in France are out in the streets right now, because we should stop putting up with this garbage where they give us crumbs while the rest of them are celebrating, like Marie Antoinette, for example.
Let me share from the article also. Protesters have been carrying signs that read "The police kill," and hundreds of government buildings have been damaged as Nahel's death taps into anger over racial bias in the country. Successive nights of violence across France and its overseas territories have in turn prompted French officials to launch a crackdown. More than 40,000 police officers have been mobilized to patrol cities across the country. Nearly 1,000 people have been arrested and more than 200 police officers have been injured. In Paris alone, 5,000 security personnel were deployed. Officers were given powers to quell riots, make arrests, and, quote, restore Republican order, French Interior Minister Gerard Darmanin said. Overseas, French territories have also witnessed violent protests. A man was killed by a stray bullet in Cayenne, capital of French Guiana, by a stray bullet during riots on Thursday. And you know, Ed, what's really ironic about all this? Let's not forget what we're celebrating this July 4th. What we're celebrating this July 4th,
the revolution,
is what we're seeing happening in France right now that loosened us from the reins of tyranny against the British. Okay. Yeah. Well, we can't protest. We can't have bloody revolutions. That's out of control over there. What do people think founded this country? And I'm not calling for violence, but at the point where we've talked about this before, your vote doesn't matter. Lobbyists control everything. Peaceful protesting doesn't matter. They ignore you. Petitions don't matter. Nobody pays attention to those. What you're seeing in France is the result of the frustration of not being heard. And at a certain point, if our elected representatives, I'm not going to call them leaders, continue to ignore Americans, as eventually it's going to spark like it did with the Floyd protests and other protests after that, which, you know, were then minimized and forgotten pretty much. But we're dealing with the same inequities and the same injustice now as we were then. And, you know, France is taking it to the next level of enough's enough.
Yeah, as they do. Should we watch the rest of this or about halfway through?
Yeah, let's watch yours. I just wanted to share that image while I was reading.
Area, they lost 26 buses last night and one tram. Ballpark figure, each bus is about $300,000, a tram about $3 million. So the ballpark damage for just this district here on the outskirts of Paris in buses and trams alone was over 11 million, about $11.7 million. A transport minister turned up earlier on here today, a short time ago, and I asked him, what is it going to take to stop the violence? And this is what he told me.
It's in the interest of those who are expressing their anger today to protect our public service. And then we live in a society of law. The justice system needs to be able to carry out its work. No one is above the law, but everyone has the rights protected by the law. We also need to leave the justice system in tranquility. It's what we owe to the young man who was killed. Calm, tranquility, and justice carried out in good conditions.
Yeah. What did you think he was going to say?
Yo, Jack, we don't want to see any of that kind of unrest here while I'm president. I would say, you know, let them eat ice cream.
Yeah, essentially. Look, I get that he, you know, we don't want you destroying public transportation services. That probably was, you know, slightly misdirected angst there. Public transportation is good. Government buildings, I'm not condoning, but I'm understanding.
Without condoning nor condemning, as Dr. Manhattan said in Watchmen.
Yeah, Watchmen's a great movie too.
I don't condone,
but fair warning, you'll see blue glowing wieners in that movie without knowing that was going to come. So just be prepared.
Who knew how much we had in common with the French, Ed? Since, you know, we're normally a lot of our elected representatives are mocking them, you know, when they don't want to go along with our crazy world domination imperialist policies like during the Iraq War. Activists believe Nahal's race was a factor in his killing, unraveling deep-rooted tensions over police discrimination against minoritized communities in France. Secularism, known as laïcité in French, is a key I hope I didn't mispronounce that, is a key foundation of French culture as it seeks to uphold equality for all by erasing markers of difference, including race. But many people of color in France say they are more likely to be victims of police brutality than white people. You don't say. A 2017 study by the Rights Defenders, an independent human rights watchdog in France, found that young men perceived to be black or Arab were 20 times more likely to be stopped by police than their peers. Accusations of brutality have long plagued French police. The Council of Europe criticized excessive use of force by state agents in a statement earlier this year during protests against Macron's unpopular pension reforms. Rights groups like Amnesty International have accused French police of ethnic profiling and have recommended deep systemic reform to address the discrimination. And we have a photograph of this young man who was murdered by the cops. Yeah, looks really dangerous. It's a tragedy. The UN called on France to address deep issues of racism and discrimination in law enforcement in the agency's first comments since the killing. So that's why France is on fire right now, everybody. And, you know, they're going through a moment that, you know, mirrors what we're celebrating this weekend in claiming our independence from a tyrannical government back in 1776.
Yeah, and people
ironic,
should,
isn't it?
Take a moment to read the lyrics of our national anthem. You know, there's stuff about rockets and bombs in there. Just saying. We've become a very sedated culture in our nation. Some of that has been propagandized over decades for us to be basically, you know, just a mass of people just accepting things as we're being told that they are, and years of them trying to not let people use their critical thinking skills. We need to be critical of our government and our representatives. We need to call out the bullshit when it's happening. You can't just sit there and let it happen and say, well, can't do anything about it. The very least you can do is speak up about it.
You know, today's Congress people, I think of Nancy Pelosi after the January 6th insurrection, when she and Mitch McConnell returned to the chambers like, you know, they were royalty and were espousing, you know, this sacred temple, this sacred place. Bitch, you work for us, okay? And you guys are supposed to serve us. It's not the other way around. And to what Ed just, I guess your comment there sparked my memory of that, and that how, you know, too often our elected representatives feel that we're not supposed to question their authority. Teddy Roosevelt said, I'm completely mangling the quote, but it's the most patriotic thing you can do to question your president and question your elected representatives, because if they are betraying their oaths and the privilege of serving through their scandals or other corruption, the most patriotic thing you can do is to call them out on it, not go along with it and just be like, you know, sheep.
Yeah, don't go to these town halls like these representatives are celebrities. They're your representatives,
and they shut people down. Ed, we see this.
You
all the
need
time.
to be there to hold them accountable, not to let them put on their little kayfabe show where they've pre-selected the people who are going to ask them the questions they already know how they're going to answer.
Yeah,
that's why it's important to not just watch the mainstream outlets, but to watch independent media outlets that will cover some of these events and also cover some of the activists who attend these town halls and meetings with your representatives and actually call them out on stuff. We should not be in a proxy war right now. We should not be throwing billions of dollars into this thing that essentially gets funneled into the military-industrial complex, which with the defense budget that is more than 10 times larger than like the next 10 countries. These are things we should be calling out, that we should be challenging our representatives with. We shouldn't be getting on board with, oh yeah, let's just keep throwing more money at the military because that'll fix everything.
It's actually broken more than it's fixed.
It's causing a lot of the problems that we're having right now in this country, including the immigration crisis, because their countries are getting destroyed by our military-industrial complex and the imperialism and all the other garbage stuff going on way above our pay grade, with people who just want to get their own buddies in power or their own buddies rich. Meanwhile, the rest of us suffer. And then what happens is they pit us all against each other. We're all broke as hell. Some people are homeless. Some people are having trouble making ends meet or paying for their groceries. And then migrants are coming in. They got their countries destroyed or decimated financially or whatever. They came here to have a chance to maybe survive.
They're fleeing our bad policies that are destabilizing their countries.
Exactly. So that's why I don't want to be angry at them. I want to be angry about the situation that our federal government put us in, and that they continue to choose to not do the things that they actually have the authority to do, like spend federal funds on things to help everyone.
Well said.
That's me out my soapbox now.
That's a clip. Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines. We have sad.
Are we allowed to use the voice one more time?
Sure. We have sad news to report.
I'm going to be at the race this weekend. I don't know if they're going to put me in the middle of the track or what, but I'm going to be there.
NASCAR has suffered its first fatality, and not in the way that you would expect.
Yeah,
But on that note, Ed, do you think she's going to have the nerve to show her ugly ass here at NASCAR this weekend?
Well, see, the thing is, Jerry, and we'll be talking about this in a little bit. Those tickets are extremely expensive to go to this race. So it's just going to be her rich friends that are going to be surrounding her. None of us little plebes who can't afford a $10.50 beer, or was it $63 for a six-pack, much less the price of a several $100 ticket to the actual race, are going to be anywhere near her if she decides to show her face.
It would after she was practically run out of town on a rail, with the election results, the idea of her coming back and showing her face, showing those eyes, those dead shark eyes, Ed.
You know the thing about a shark, he's got lifeless eyes, black eyes, like a doll's eyes. When he comes at you, doesn't seem to be living until he bites you, and those black eyes roll over white, and then you hear that terrible high-pitched screaming.
All right, that's probably the one and only time we're ever going to use that, but that was funny.
Oh, as long as we talk about NASCAR and those dead.
It's just her dead eyes.
Dead black eyes.
It's just the iris color we're talking about. Okay.
Yeah. So unfortunately, as a result of Lori Lightfoot's indulgences, making Chicago's downtown a speed raceway, unfortunately, someone lost their life this week. A worker died while setting up Chicago NASCAR race. I'm sure Lori would think that, it was for a good cause, but I'm just speculating there. The monument that Lori left behind to us.
No, let's be fair. I don't think she would be happy about this at all.
I don't think she'd care, Ed.
Look, I don't think she's completely heartless. I just think she's focused on her own things. But with her radar clearly still on NASCAR, I think she's not happy that somebody died setting up this race that she mangled around to get in the city in the first place.
I don't sense she's got much of a conscience, though, Ed. I'd imagine she's got the same level of conscience and remorse as a shark.
You know the thing about a shark? He's got lifeless eyes, black eyes like a doll's eyes. When he comes at you, doesn't seem to be living until he bites you. And those black eyes roll over white, and then you hear that terrible high-pitched screaming.
Okay. What's our limit? What's our limit on this video? Before we start getting your
after retired. Look, man, I took the time to edit it. I think I need to use.
I loved it, but
I'll have to. But when we talked about we have to have Robert Shaw's speech here just to drop in. The only place we would be dropping it in is when we're talking about those remorseless dead eyes of Lori Lightfoot.
Thanks for the tip, Kathy.
Getting serious now. A Chicago worker has died while setting up for the NASCAR Chicago street race in Grant Park, WGN Investigates has learned. The 53-year-old man was an employee of a staging and lighting company. Initial police reports from the scene said the man may have been, oh, Jesus Christ. I didn't read this ahead of time. I just read the headline. The man may have been electrocuted. However, an autopsy will determine cause of death. A NASCAR spokesperson confirms a contractor suffered a fatal medical emergency, but declined to confirm the nature of the incident. The man was near the race starting line west of Buckingham Fountain, according to police reports. On Friday afternoon, a contractor suffered a fatal medical emergency, a NASCAR spokesperson told WGN Investigates. We are coordinating with local authorities on this traffic incident. We share our condolences to the family and their loved ones. A Chicago Fire Department spokesperson confirms a man was transported from Grant Park and pronounced dead at a local hospital. This whole NASCAR setup, Ed, it just reminds me of like disaster movies of the 1970s. Like whether it was Paul Newman in the Towering Inferno, like warning against the fact that something bad was going to happen because they ignored safety specifications, or what's his name, Roy Scheider in Jaws telling Larry Vaughn, the mayor, we got to worry about safety violations. Shit's going to go bad with the shark at the beach. Bad stuff's already starting to happen with NASCAR. I'm wondering if it's going to unfold into some disaster movie of that kind of level.
Yeah, and I think we got rain in the forecast for this weekend too.
Oh, so the streets will be slick.
Possibly. We'll see. When's the race supposed to be? Is it taking place on Saturday or Sunday?
I will get to that as I open up the next article. Come on, open link. Hang on a second, everybody.
Oh, the Block Club one. Okay.
Copy link. There are clearly some wiser and smarter heads prevailing downtown, though, in regards to safety, as businesses around the NASCAR area are going to be closing this weekend. They don't want to take any chances, and I don't blame them. So Block Club Chicago reports South Loop Bookstore, other businesses to close NASCAR weekend, citing deep concern for public safety. The independent bookseller is one of several businesses planning to temporarily shut down as the city gears up for the racing competition. I don't know that the foot traffic to their businesses is even going to be possible anyway, given how much is being shut down there.
That's probably one other reason. It's like, you're not going to a bookstore during NASCAR weekend if you're coming in for the NASCAR race.
Yeah.
It's unlikely.
With all the roads and streets and sidewalks shut down. Okay, so let me read from the article. Can I get rid of the advertisement here?
I got it.
This comes from Jamie Nesbitt Golden at Block Club Chicago. A popular South Loop bookstore has decided to temporarily close during NASCAR weekend for safety reasons. Exile and Bookville owners Javier Ramirez and Kristen Enola Gilbert recently celebrated the second anniversary of the bookstore's move to the Fine Arts Building at 410 South Michigan Avenue. That's a great building. They used to have a theater in there. I wish it would reopen. While 4th of July weekend is typically lucrative for the store, this year its owners are closing and they're not happy. Sorry, hiccups. They're not happy about it. The store will be closed July 1st through the 3rd out of an abundance of caution for patrons and staff, Gilbert said. Ed, can you bring up a map of the race route? Because we'll look at that and then show where this bookstore is on the route. People can access our building. We are directly on the race course where protective hearing is required, Gilbert said. We're a bookstore, so I don't know how anyone could physically have a conversation when NASCAR cars are racing right underneath us. Then you also have to explain to the guard stationed on the corners that you want to go into a business. You're not standing on the sidewalk to try and watch the race for free. Oh, are they going to be chasing people off the sidewalks?
They're probably going to block off.
Wow. That petty. Inconveniencing everything in that area. And if you're on the sidewalk, you're not allowed to see what's inconveniencing you. Barricades also would make it difficult for people to even get to the store, Gilbert said. Gilbert and Ramirez announced the weekend closure on Instagram Thursday. The Post said they were frustrated the city didn't better communicate with business owners on the route ahead of the event and are worried about the integrity of the 125-year-old building itself. Well, that's been the concern all year long. Oh, so here's what they're doing, and look at this. Look at what these motherfuckers are doing. Barricades. I'm wondering if those are going to be covered up too. That's Michigan Avenue.
I'm trying to pull up a map, but I can't get it to come up on my screen here.
It might be in one of my other linked articles. I think maybe it might be under the NASCAR driver Brad Perez is named the turns on the Chicago Street Racetrack. I think there's a map affiliated with that link. In the showcase.
All right, hold on.
I mean, we don't need it up right now. I'm just as a point of reference to show where this bookstore is.
Oh yeah, okay. Well,
so here's what Exile and Bookville shared on Instagram. As many of you know, the city of Chicago has decided to race NASCAR in downtown Chicago this Saturday and Sunday. The race course runs directly in front of our store. We were not offered any opportunity to voice our absolute objection at any public meeting. We were not given the chance to defend the integrity of our 125-year-old historic building from noise, vibration, and accidents. To argue against the environmental impact of racing cars over 100 laps in downtown Chicago. To express deep concern over public safety. To convey the financial burden many businesses have and will face from this decision. We are one of those businesses. We've been forced to reach the unfortunate decision to close Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Michigan Avenue will be closed on those days and for days after. The front of our building, while narrowly defined by the city as accessible, has a barricade in place. Access is possible, though improbable. Noise protection is required. All of this, combined with many other factors, has led to our decision to close during one of the busiest times of the year for Exile. While this is a choice in the broadest sense of the word, we feel we have no option. The cost of closing, both tangible and intangible, will be greatly felt. We apologize for having to close our doors for the race days and the day after for quote-unquote cleanup and tear down. We must also mention that we will have to be closed on Tuesday, July 4th, as our building closes on federal holidays. Thank you to those who've reached out, those who've shopped online, and those who've braved a very ugly and unapproachable South Loop to visit in person. While we cannot physically be here to run the store, our website is open 24/7 for all your book needs. We will process all online orders as quickly as possible upon our return, bright and early on Wednesday, July 5th. What do you want to bet that's going to be? That's going to be impacted. Thank you for your understanding, patience, and support. We aren't thrilled one bit, and we'll miss chatting about books with everyone, knowing that we have the best and most understanding customers and friends softens the blow. So does vodka. Our glass in our fiction room and our floor-to-ceiling windows is the original glass from the 1800s, Ed. It's not meant to withstand hundreds of loops of vibrations and noise, Gilbert said. The Studebaker Theater poster boxes in front of our building. Some of them are original. A huge component of NASCAR races is car crashes, right? I got to go to it. Where is it?
Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable Drive.
Shining with a heavenly grace, help you right on by. There ain't no road just like it. Anywhere I found.
Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable Drive.
Gentlemen, start your engines. All right. I mean, it's all there. A huge component of NASCAR races is car crashes, right?
Yeah.
They ask. Other nearby businesses will close for the weekend as well, including Osaka Sushi and Fresh Fruit Smoothies and the Studebaker Theater, staffers told Block Club. Some residents and local officials have been voicing their concerns about the race for months. Of course, it's like Larry Vaughn in Jaws. We're open for business. Block Club Chicago reported in March that leaders from the Shed Aquarium and Grant Park Advisory Council pressed the city for answers about the number of road closures and wear and tear on park grounds. NASCAR is prepared to pay restoration costs for any damage done to the park during the event. The city said, we don't give a shit. Oh, no, wait a minute. The city threw together this emergency public forum a few months ago with no notice. We found out during an interview with ABC 7 Chicago, but we were hosting Jonathan Franzen that night. It wasn't even as if we could attend something thrown together so spontaneously, nor could it have mattered, Gilbert said. Gilbert stressed that her issues are with the city, not NASCAR, while other festivals like Lollapalooza and the Taste of Chicago allow for the easy flow of foot traffic. She said the layout of the racing competition makes for a logistical nightmare. The most frustrating part for Gilbert and Ramirez is the hit they'll take in sales as a result. They count on customers visiting during the summer to carry them through the winter when sales slump. The number of independent bookstores has been on the decline for the last decade. According to the American Booksellers Association, the number of independent shops decreased 12% between 2012 and 2017. While Gilbert acknowledged the industry may be dying, she's also grateful for the community Exile and Book Phil, a nod to Liz Phair's popular 1993 album, Exile and Guy Phil has built, adding that the outpouring of support since the announcement has been amazing. Everyone's been so kind and so supportive and understanding. Chicago's a great community, she said. We are, which is why we got rid of this bitch here. Sorry, I can't tone police myself when it comes to her. She's just so awful. All the shit that she didn't do, the shit she did, and the mess she's left behind.
Yeah. So
she was over in London watching the Cubs with Bill Murray.
Yeah, I know.
How much of her security details was paid for by us.
Yeah, well, that is an entire reason why I think she will be at the NASCAR race, and I don't know if anybody's going to report on it since she's not actually mayor anymore. But if you're watching it, I guess they're televising it. If you'll be watching it on TV, you'll probably see her somewhere along the lines.
And if she is there, they will honor her in some way. Oh, the former mayor Lori Lightfoot is here.
Well, this was her deal. She put this deal together. So I can't imagine she's not going to be there, to be honest. Anyway, exileinbookphil.com. If you want to support this bookstore, I think you can even order books online from them. Like Chicago's Not Broke by Tom Tresser. They have that one available to order. You just go to their website, and they have a browse section, and you can look at the ones they suggest, but you can also search for book titles and order directly from a bookstore, which I always recommend. And if you're not ordering from them, you can also find our book suggestions at chicagocorner.tv. You scroll down to the bottom, you'll see a few books that we're recommending, and it goes to support. It actually goes to support my Real Deep Dish website, which comes to me and eventually funnels back to Chicago Corner, since it's me, Jerry, and Kira that are putting this whole thing on. So thank you for your support. Speaking of support, I want to thank everybody for supporting us at patreon.com/Chicago Corner. I think we got like 6 supporters so far on the Patreon. Thank you so much. If you'd like to support this channel, head to patreon.com/Chicago Corner. And for if you're donating at least $5 a month, you get an extra perk, which is the opportunity, if you want to come on this show and talk to us. Be a guest on the show. Give us your 2 cents about the stories that we cover here. Maybe there's something you want to talk about that we haven't yet covered. And if you're a Patreon supporter, donating at least $5 a month, you have that opportunity to come on at least once a month, or I think once a month minimum. And then if we want to call you back, that's on our prerogative. But it's a nice little perk if you're the kind of person that likes to, log on with your computer and you got a webcam and a decent internet connection. And you're like, hey, I want to talk to Jerry and maybe Ed too. Or I don't like Ed, but I want to give Jerry a piece of my mind. Or
I'm sure a lot of people want to give me a piece of their mind.
Yeah. But yeah, we want to hear from you. I mean, even if you're not a Patreon supporter, any kind of support you can give us, hit the like button on the videos when you watch us live if you can. Tell everybody that you know that we're live and when we're live, which is currently Tuesdays and Fridays at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. So, and occasionally we will do a special broadcast when the need arises. Like sometimes we do a Saturday night special broadcast when we have additional news we want to cover. Or I think we have another movie review coming up because Jerry and I and our friend Art and his brother George went to see Indiana Jones and the
Dial of Density.
Yeah. We'll have to come up with a few different titles for that and maybe have people vote on their favorite here.
Poor Harrison. This shouldn't have been Indy's last adventure was Last Crusade. That's how I'm remembering the last adventure of Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I kind of felt like I know we got to save it for the review, but I kind of felt like this was like he just came back for one more tiny little adventure that wasn't even really planned to be an adventure. And so it could have been just like a little special thing for a streaming platform, but they put it in the theaters.
No, that's not what this was. Harrison, I know Indiana Jones is Harrison Ford's all-time favorite character because I think Indiana Jones really reflects a lot of Harrison Ford's actual personality and, adventurous personality. I mean, the guy flies planes. He's actually been known to like fly his helicopter into rescue operations out in Montana where he lives when they were short-staffed with helicopter rescue operations. So I mean, the guy, and he's very, very soft-spoken. He's also very grumpy sometimes. But I know that I don't know that he was happy with Crystal Skull, and I think he wanted one more opportunity to take Indy out and actually face a lot of the issues we're all facing with age. And that was a big theme in the movie. And that part of I know that this wasn't just like he really wanted to do this movie.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure he wanted some closure on this series.
Well, I also questioned some of his judgment and some of the decisions that were made behind the scenes that apparently he approved of. And I'm like, well, maybe he doesn't have the best judgment. He's as passionate as he was about wanting to do this. But we'll talk about it in our Indiana Jones and the Dial of Density review coming up this weekend, or Dialysis of Destiny. I don't know. I like Miguel's comment here. We need to do a show called Chicago Rants. Yeah, we do.
Yeah. Well, I guess we got a hater on Twitter. I'm noticing.
Do we? Yeah. What's he saying?
Yeah. Well, he starts out by responding to, well, you posted the link to the Rockfin stream, which apparently we have 2,000 people following us over there. Who knew? Because it's very rare that people are actually chatting in the live chat over there, but apparently you're watching us. So thank you for tuning in.
Who's paying attention to us, let alone clicking the little follow us button?
So this guy named, should we name him?
Yeah.
Big City Bigfoot.
Okay.
Over on Twitter saying, illegal aliens driving licenses? How do they get insurance? I'm like, well, the first thing went off in my head. I'm like, you're calling them illegal aliens. That tells me most of what I need to know from your comment at the beginning. I'm like, yeah, I understood the concern about insurance and stuff, and because Jerry had similar concerns.
Yeah.
And they're reasonable concerns.
Well, look, as I stated, I'm less concerned about the fact they're migrants driving as much as I'm concerned that if you don't make sure they have insurance, as everybody should have insurance, you're basically maybe creating more of you're giving out service. You're giving out so many services so fast that you have no oversight over. Because I don't think it's wrong to say a lot of migrants who've fled their countries to come here probably don't know English that well to follow, rules of the road and signage and stuff like that. So it's a legitimate concern, Ed. It's not driven from a concern.
And as I said, even the people who do know the language drive like idiots. So
yeah, I'm one of them.
But then I learned the other day that you were thinking about in your youth becoming an action movie star, Jerry.
Oh, you saw that on Facebook?
I saw a really awesome photo. You had an amazing head of hair.
I did, didn't I? That I'm still trying to.
That was impressive.
It was.
And it's like,
and I think that was the phase where I decided to get it permed like William Shatner in Star Trek 2. So it was pretty full.
And I was like, should I comment on this thing?
Oh, you can comment on it.
I was like, but it's like they said, like he was going to be an action movie star. I'm like, oh, that explains his driving.
It does.
It does.
Although I came to this realization, all of my childhood heroes, all of my childish childhood heroes that I always reference here, from Indiana Jones. There's a common thread from Indiana Jones to Karl Kolchak, the Night Stalker, to even Batman. It's not so much about the adventure as much as all characters have this similar yearning for like investigating and trying to find answers and solutions and find the truth. Like, Batman and his detective skills, or Indiana Jones hunting for an artifact, or Karl Kolchak like looking for the truth of the story. And it's like, that's the thread, because there's such like different fictional characters, but it's like, it's the detective and like wanting to like get answers element that all those characters have in their personalities that I think has always appealed to me. And what we're doing here, like, let's find the truth of things. Let's get to the heart of the matter. Let's try and like get the facts. But yeah, when I was at my mom's house, I think that was a repost from several years ago. My mom has one of my composite shots up in the family room, and I thought, oh, this is real sweet. Back when I had two legs and was, fantasizing delusionally that I could pursue an acting career and do all the crazy stuff Harrison Ford does in movies. So, yeah, he was. Darren McGavin, very, very favorite actor too. He was great in Christmas Story, but I guess I should get back.
Have to keep reminding myself that he was the dad in that movie.
Yeah. So,
sons of bitches, bumpuses.
So I'm not going to have this story on screen because I think it's the videos from GN are what's clogging up what little buffering time I've got here on my StreamYard. But so here's reflective of what's happening with the with NASCAR. That bookstore is suffering because they don't have their customers able to come through. Well, ironically, the hotels that are charging exorbitant rates, they're not making any money either, because apparently the hotels are not making bank on NASCAR as they expected. This came from Peter Curie at WGN. Almost all of the hotel rooms in Chicago were completely booked last weekend, largely to do with the Taylor Swift mania that took over Soldier Field. According to Bloomberg, hotel occupancy averaged 96.8% last weekend, while Taylor Swift's Eras Tour made their stop in Chicago. For Friday and Saturday nights alone, an average of 44,383 hotel rooms were occupied. The president and CEO of Choose Chicago, Lynn Osmond, said that this weekend led to over $39 million in hotel revenue, which is an all-time record. The American Society of Clinical Oncology annual meeting and the James Beard Foundation Awards also played a part in the bookings, but nearly 200,000 concert attendees coming to town for Taylor Swift are credited with the record. Wait, where's the rest of this article? Did I click the wrong link? There was an article that had to do with the fact that hotels were not booking. I think I have the wrong link in the show notes. Yeah, NASCAR race not filling Chicago hotels. I put the wrong link in the show notes. Let me go to Google and see if I can find the actual link related to what I wanted to share.
All right.
Okay, I found it. It is a WGN article, but I guess I was reading the wrong link when I was compiling show notes. All right, here we go. NASCAR race not filling Chicago hotels. This is by Kyle Busch. This is by Ben Bradley. Kyle Busch is no Taylor Swift. While the singing sensation is credited with helping fill nearly 97% of Chicago hotel rooms during her June concerts at Soldier Field, there are still plenty of rooms available at relatively low prices during this weekend's NASCAR street race. The Hilton Chicago, which overlooks the race route in Grant Park, has rooms available for $278 per night this weekend. The high-end JW Marriott and the Loop is offering rooms at $365 per night, and the swanky Four Seasons is offering accommodations for $700 a night. None of the prices are off the charts for a Chicago summer weekend. We're hearing that occupancy overall is pretty strong as a result of both NASCAR and the USA Volleyball National Championships taking place at McCormick Place. Illinois Hotel and Lodging Association CEO Michael Jacobson told WGN. That said, there are definitely still rooms available and deals to be found. I have a feeling that there are more deals to be found. I think he's lying. Because this wouldn't be a story if they were all overbooked and NASCAR was filling their hotels.
This is obvious to anyone who understands how broke everyone in the city is. We can't afford a couple $100 for a race ticket, much less a hotel room and all the other stuff. They were expecting a bunch of people to be flying in or whatever because that would be like a giant tourism draw for people who are fans of NASCAR. But even then, people can't afford to travel. People can't. I mean, if they were expecting locals to fill those seats, they set the prices way too high on those tickets. And as I've said before, there's only 24 billionaires in the city. How many tickets would they possibly? I mean, yeah, I suppose they could actually afford to buy up all the tickets, but then you're stuck with a whole bunch of empty rafters, empty crowds while the race goes on, and that doesn't make for good television, does it?
NASCAR is estimating as many as 50,000 fans will attend events each day. More than 80% of those ticket holders will be attending their first NASCAR race, a NASCAR spokesperson told WGN. One of our main goals in bringing this race to Chicago is to introduce NASCAR to a new and expanding fan base. I wonder if they're going to put barricades up over those gates that we saw in front of that bookstore so people on the sidewalk can't see anything, because they want to sell tickets to this thing, even not the expensive tickets up in the what do they call the bench areas. If anyone from the suburbs, Northwest Indiana or Wisconsin are looking to make last-minute plans to come down for the weekend, there's definitely still an opportunity to do so, said hotel industry rep Jacobson. Several hotels are even doing some cool specials, like the Voco Hotel, who is doing a special for NASCAR that includes 2 train passes, so you don't even have to worry about traffic or driving downtown. Major cities have been fighting to regain their mojo after the pandemic shut down conventions and drained urban centers of many 5-day-a-week workers. Finding the perfect mix of business and pleasure tourism means millions for cities and their hospitality industries. Swift's Chicago concerts coincided with the annual meeting of the American Society for Clinical Oncology and the James Beard Foundation Awards. A representative of Shoe Chicago said the group doesn't have hotel data or forecasts, though. We're hearing reports from some hotels that they are experiencing a lift due to NASCAR, and with USA Volleyball also in town, we expect a strong weekend for our hotels and our entire hospitality community. As NASCAR fans visit residents and bars, utilize transportation services, and support our partners across the tourism industry. A Choose Chicago spokesperson responded via mail. All right, we'll take their word for it.
I was checking to see if there were any updates from WGN, and I'm seeing a video that says fire breaks out at Warner Brothers lot in California.
That's where the writer's strike is taking place.
Is that what that? Well,
yeah,
also
they're picketing outside of Warner Brothers there.
Okay, but also, Warner Brothers, DC.
They're going down in flames. So that's a perfect metaphor.
I mean, aren't they having a fire sale with all of their movie properties right now?
Yeah,
they're selling them all off because
unloading Turner Classic Movies.
Because the Flash movie just was a complete Titanic.
The flush.
So to speak.
That was a turd.
Yeah.
All right, so my Twitter is taking forever to open, but if you can open up that link to Brad Perez's take on
Brad Perez map.
Yeah. Clever Brad Perez naming all of the death turns in the NASCAR race.
Yeah, I can do that. Here we go.
Now, I can't read on this end. Are you able to open and read on your end?
Yeah, it says, as first presented on the Xfinity Racing live stream, the corner names for the NASCAR Chicago street race. And let me see if I can get this.
Where's Lori's death curve? Lori's death curve. Pritzker's loins.
Here we go.
Blago's bulge.
They got one called the baby bump. You see that on the bottom there?
That was named after Kira.
Yeah. Yeah, they named that one after Kira.
Oh, look. Advertising sponsorship opportunities. The Spectrum Corner presented by Xfinity. Comcrap. So East Concourse Plaza Drive, right at the bottom there between Baby Bump and Spectrum Corner, that's where Xfinity Books is that we were talking about earlier.
Okay. No,
is it on that side or maybe it's on? No, that's where Columbia College is. It's on the other side. It's between McFunnel, Second, Happy Birthday Grimace, and the Baby Bump. That's where Xfinity. I'm sorry, where the books. What's the name of the bookstore?
I've already forgotten. Damn you, Swiss cheese brain! Exile in Bookville. Was it?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, Exile in Bookville.
The Bone Steel Aerospace Launch Pad. How about the Bone Steel Aerospace implant for the bones that are going to be broken and plates that are going to be put in drivers' bodies? The Boulevard of Broken Dreams. Well, that's apropos. That's the street that they should have named after Jean-Baptiste Pointe-du-Sable, not Lakeshore Drive. Oh, I'm very happy to see, though, at the top there, they are honoring the name of Lakeshore Drive.
It just says South Lakeshore Drive.
Happy to see that.
Lakeshore Kink. Yeah, I'm guessing it's like, these guys have to basically do trial runs around the track just to get an idea of where the turns are and everything. And they got to talk with their racing crew to try to explain like where they're headed or what's coming up so that they know how to react with their car, like where they got to speed up and slow. This is going to be one of those tracks where they have to speed up and slow down a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And
they got 90-degree turns here.
How much slowing down is there going to be here, Ed? It's a race.
Those
are 90-degree turns, 90-degree angles.
So this
area was not designed to be a racetrack.
I'm curious what their top speed is going to be, because they can only go so fast before they have to slow down and turn.
top speed around a corner, from my experience, is probably about 45 miles an hour.
Well, yeah, which means that even if they get their cars up to 200, they're not going to have them that fast for very long.
Riding those brakes bad.
So it's like, this is a recipe for disaster.
It's a disaster movie, man. It's like Towering Inferno. Or,
they're going to speed up, and their pit crew is going to go, you better slow down, or you're going to be building pizza, not street pizza, because you're going to slam into a skyscraper or something.
Jean-Baptiste Point to Sable Drive.
That was a fun one to edit. I actually found like an AI voice that had that accent. I wanted to make sure that it sounded like a French person of color saying Jean-Baptiste Point to Sable Drive. So,
speaking of speed, let's check in on my Xfinity connection really quick.
How you doing?
Yeah, okay, 86 down is pretty good. I mean, that's okay. We're over 11. We're over 11, which actually is a good night for me. If it's anywhere between
2, I bet.
If it's anywhere between 10 and 12 for upstream, I'll have a good night. But what happens is sometimes it drops below 1 megabit, and I got nothing. I got to switch to the hotspot. But this is typical of what I usually get on my connection. So that's the inside baseball of the Chicago Corner live stream.
Miguel says that Warner Brothers Studios fire is sus. Speaking of fires, we're not going to go totally down this rabbit hole, but during the AMC settlement hearing the other day with shareholders and AMC wanting to do this reverse split on the stock, somebody pulled the fire alarm like an hour into the courtroom proceedings to disrupt the proceedings. And I'm like, they will do anything to like interrupt and put off justice being seen in this action. Which hedge fund was fined a couple $1 million for deleting millions of records this past week? They got a slap on the wrist, $1 million fine. There was a hedge fund that apparently was
probably Citadel.
I don't know if it was Citadel. May have been. No, I think it was JP Morgan Chase.
Oh,
they accidentally deleted, Ed, millions of records that should have been backed up somewhere that were related to an ongoing investigation. And what did they get? $4 million fine. It's basically, okay, we took the money, just keep doing it. What's going to stop? $1 billion fines is what's going to stop these people, but it's not going to change.
That's not going to stop them either.
Because
all they're going to do is find a way to delay paying it one way or another.
I remember that warehouse fire last year. I think it was in Bartlett, where it was a records holding facility for all these hedge funds. And apparently a shelf here knocked down a sprinkler that would be above the shelf, which is why the sprinklers didn't work when the entire warehouse caught on fire. Remember, shelf knocked down a sprinkler. How does that work? Yeah, Miguel, I'm not leaving. We're not leaving. Ed's invested too.
I ain't selling.
Nope.
No. We got plenty of time for that. Those movie theaters ain't going nowhere.
I want to see these fucking hedge funds bleed is what I want. All right, going into our final stories of the show here, we have an update on the UPS strike as reported today. I think that today was an important deadline as far as whether or not they were going to lock up and walk out. I've got the story here from the Hill that I'm waiting to open up here.
Yeah, let me see if the Teamsters got anything new today.
This is by Sylvan Lane and Eris Folly. Members of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters and UPS will not strike Friday and are going back to the negotiating table after the delivery company gave the union a new counteroffer amid heated contract negotiations. Ed, while I read this article, can you bring up that link in the show notes and just have it ready that says truck conditions?
Yeah.
Okay, have that ready. UPS offered the Teamsters a revised counterproposal with significant movement on wages and other economic language Friday afternoon. The union said in a statement, though it said it was not enough to win the support of Teamsters leadership. UPS also asked the Teamsters to continue negotiations until July 5th, the union said. UPS came back with real movement, but it isn't enough, Teamsters General President Sean M. O'Brien said in a statement. After they left the room, our national committee had a long dialogue and the universal consensus was to continue our leverage campaign. O'Brien and top Teamsters officials are scheduled to hold a press conference Saturday and give an update on the status of negotiations. The Teamsters did not say Friday if they would agree to UPS's request to extend talks to July 5th. In a statement on Friday, UPS said it's encouraged the Teamsters. UPS said it's encouraged the Teamsters are ready to continue negotiations and discuss our most recent proposal. Productive discussions are critical at this stage of the process. We look forward to the union's input so we can reach a timely agreement and provide certainty for our employees, our customers, and the U.S. economy, UPS added. Now, Ed, I want you to bring up this tweet that one of the major, major points in the UPS strike was having air-conditioned trucks and vehicles, which I guess UPS vehicles never had in the past. Someone posted this in regard to USPS trucks, but they made a very good point, as it also relates to the UPS's demands. Someone please explain to me why police officers get to drive a $60,000 blacked-out Tahoes while the male guy has to drive around in a 30-year-old truck that gets 9 miles per gallon and has no airbags or air conditioning. I think we could probably...
because one has accountability and the other one doesn't.
Because the other one is more entitled than the other.
Yeah, that too.
Those specs kind of also relate to UPS vehicles and the whole issue about ventilation and air conditioning in the cars during these hot summer months that they're delivering. Oh, Ed, why don't you share your tweet today?
Oh, okay.
Since we were talking about Xfinity.
Well, as long as we're on that, yeah. See, I was getting a little frustrated because I had some difficulty streaming my show on Tuesday, and you guys all saw it as my internet connection started falling apart. And I had requested before this with Xfinity to please place a note and notify the proper people, technical people, that I do a live stream, that I have to have upstream working relatively consistently so that I can do my show, and that I can't have
our show,
so I can do the show that I host. Going to do our show that I host on Tuesday.
Co-host.
That you co-host with me on Tuesday. Thanks. See, this is what it's like.
I don't mean to derail you. I'm just playing.
Yeah, but this is what it's like when I do that to Jerry. So I have this coming. Anyway, where was I with that? Oh, so I went through the proper channels to let them know. I said, look, I don't know if you guys are trying to like crack down on some type of illegal uploading or something where you see some mysterious stream or some mysterious long continuous file transfer, and you think someone's uploading illegal movies to Pirate Bay or something. But that's not me. I do a live stream. I need a connection. I'm like, it's not unreasonable to request, people every day like have to do Zoom meetings and other types of telecommunication over their internet connections. None of them should have to deal with a below 1 megabit connection dropout in the middle of a broadcast or a middle of a meeting.
Keep in mind, everybody, I just asked Ed to share the tweet.
Yeah. I have to dig for the tweet. Hold on, Jerry. Where was I? I can't get, hold on.
Oh, you having yeah, you're having the same.
I gotta hit the thing, and then I gotta go to the thing so that I can load the thing. So that I can load the thing. Here we go. Okay, all right. Okay. So I was like, I posted it.
You got to do it.
I registered with Xfinity's message boards, and I went in there and made this request because after I had went through the regular channels, and then my live stream still crapped out on me, I was like, okay, enough is enough. So I posted.
This is such a crock of shit.
So I posted this into their chat. I said, I need Xfinity to stop throttling or limiting my uploads during my live stream. How do I escalate and resolve this issue? Because as you know, a lot of service providers these days have automated customer service engines. It's all computers and AI, and they interact and they have preloaded answers to things, and you can't get, it's very hard. You got to go through a labyrinth to talk to an actual human being. I have yet to talk to a human being at Xfinity. I haven't talked to a real live person at Xfinity in years. So
I have to give RC on credit. At least when I call them, I do. It takes like a couple buttons pushed, but I usually do get a live support person there.
So, and watch my stream drop off as I'm reading this. I host a live stream 2 days a week with a usual upstream speed between 10 and 12 gigabits. And almost every week, my upstream gets throttled down under 1 megabit mid-show without warning. People have to stream live video every day in Zoom meetings and other ways. It should not be too much to ask to have a reliable upstream that doesn't get capped or limited in the middle of a stream. How do I speak to a service tech who can turn off whatever algorithm is limiting my upload speed? I haven't gotten a response to that, but I'm kind of impatient with those things. And I was like, okay, maybe what we need is some public humiliation. So I went on Twitter and I said, enough is enough. And I tagged Xfinity and Xfinity support. I said, you need to stop limiting people's upload speeds. People have a reasonable expectation that their internet service will not drop near zero in the middle of a Zoom meeting or a live stream. Fix it. And then, of course, what do we get? The automated response from Xfinity. I appreciate you for giving Xfinity a chance to resolve your issue. We're truly sorry to hear about the experience you're having. We're eager to get to the bottom of this. Please send us a DM. Yeah, I did that already. Which I said, and nothing happened. How about you talk to your tech teams and tell them they should stop throttling uploads of everyone in the city of Chicago, which has a NASCAR Chicago event happening real soon. And then
if I were the man I was 5 years ago, I'd take a flamethrower to this place.
Yeah, that's what I said in my head, actually. But then I followed it with, hey, aren't you a sponsor of that? They are.
I know they are. We saw that corner labeled by that driver.
So
Xfinity Turner, whatever it was.
I would think NASCAR and Xfinity would both not want terrible bad press by people who may or may not want to actually talk about and or promote this event, not being able to in Chicago, the place where the event is happening, because their stream's getting throttled by the person sponsoring the damn race.
They don't give a shit. They've got broadcast news coverage. They're untouchable.
Excuse me. I was at fault calling them a person. Corporations are not people.
That's true, too.
So that's me.
Matthew says we should contact the FCC about this stuff. I wonder if that would actually...
They should have reinstated net neutrality by now, but for some reason they're dragging their feet, or for more specifically, for likely corrupt reasons, they're not fixing it, because that might fix part of this issue, because they're not supposed to be throttling anybody.
Speaking of AI, have you ever been DM'd by somebody on Facebook, a stranger, and you just engage some polite conversation at first and suddenly realize you think that you're being talked to by an AI? Has that happened to you yet?
Well, I usually detect that before it even gets started. But yeah, I've had interactions where I'm like, yeah, this is a bot.
Yeah. Well, I happen to match with somebody on Facebook's dating app, and I'm convinced a robot is talking to me because nobody talks this way. And it's almost as if the conversation is like going to Chat GPT to reference things to like talk to. And I've been like playing with this because I'm like, I want to really get to I want to see like what I can tell this entity to see what's going to cause it to slip up. But it's like, Ed, it's weird. I'm going to send you the chat transcript. But your mention of AI here with customer service, it's reminding me of the fact that I think that there are AI robots going into Facebook chats to try to like cultivate relationships with people to steal information and scam them.
Yeah, well, clearly they're not doing it from the one that I was trying to use on Tuesday. But you remember that Jimmy Sunderland told us about there's one on the dark web that might be a little more useful in that regard. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to looking into that stuff.
Yeah.
But it should scare the hell out of all of us.
Yeah. All right, guys. So we're coming up to our last story, which really isn't a story. It's just a parting commentary on what you can do, where you can go to stay safe and avoid the insanity of NASCAR downtown.
Yes, without blowing up your hands by trying to light off your own fireworks.
Yeah, Ed had shared some fireworks safety videos, but they were kind of, I mean, I guess we can bring one up, but the one that you shared with me, the quality of it was so blurry, I didn't know if it would like be worth trying to stream from Facebook.
Oh, I didn't know what you would have a chance to watch.
I did watch it. Yeah, I took a look at it. And now
I just like that. I just like the fact that there is an actual organization called the American Pyro Association. They're real, and they are actually about pyrotechnic safety. I'm like, that's awesome.
All right, so let me bring up the Block Club Chicago screen. No, so Snork Y2K, it's not a voice, it's like text chatting. It's text chat. I think I'm text chatting with an AI. You know, maybe I'll provide a transcript of the conversation. Maybe I can put it on our Chicago corner just as a little side interesting minutia thing. All right, so here we go. Is this screen going to open up? Here we go. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, as linked in our show notes, here are 4th of July fireworks shows, parades, and parties, your guide to celebrating Independence Day in Chicago. The holiday falls on Tuesday, which means events start this weekend and run into next week. So I'll just give some quick broad strokes. Everybody seems to go downtown, which is going to be complicated now because of NASCAR. But downtown on the Loop, Navy Pier fireworks. There are no fireworks July 4th at Navy Pier, but you can catch the regular Saturday and Wednesday shows. I wonder why there are no regular fireworks this year on July 4th, Ed.
Because nobody can get down there for that.
Yeah.
And I'll bet you that NASCAR might be launching off their own.
Oh, for only the private people in their area to see?
For the people.
Thanks, Lori.
What a fucking bitch, am I right?
Although they used to not always light them off on the 4th. Sometimes they would put them off on the 3rd.
But the entire lakefront campus, though, is all fucked up because of this.
Yes.
Which is why, I mean, nobody can get to Navy Pier for any 4th of July activities anyway. Mm-hmm. There are no fireworks on July 4th at Navy Pier, but you can catch the regular Saturday and Wednesday shows. Saturday at 10 p.m. and 9 p.m. on Wednesday. Saturday will be the patriotic display. That's tomorrow night. Where? Near 600 East Grand Avenue. Go try to find a spot near 600 East Grand Avenue, everybody.
Yeah, good luck with that.
City cruises, 4th of July cruises. When? Times vary on Saturday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Navy Pier at 600 East Grand Avenue. The Grant Park Music Festival, An American Salute, Rhapsody in Blue. That's going to be after July 4th on Wednesday, because you can't get there. You can't get there for the American Salute on the 4th of July. It's going to have to be after NASCAR. J. Prisker Pavilion at 201 East Randolph Street, 4th of July celebration on the yacht, if you can afford that. Anita D. Yacht Charters, 200 North Breakwater Access. That's on Saturday. A lot of these activities are going to be on Saturday. You can link to check the link in our show notes below, our YouTube description. There's a whole lot of stuff listed. There's stuff in South Loop, Bridgeport, Hyde Park, Ukrainian Village, Irving Park, Saugnash, and Humboldt Park, Horner Park, Legion Park, Sheridan Park, Wells Park, and Nichols Park. All the stuff you can get to outside of NASCAR is listed in that link in our show notes below. So, do you have any plans for the 4th?
Nothing in stone yet. I might head out to the suburbs, go hang out with the parents. I don't know if we're going to watch fireworks, but it'd be nice to spend some time out with family. See what happens.
Yeah. Well, that's our show for Friday, ladies and gentlemen. We hope you enjoyed yourselves. We appreciate your participation in the live chat. It looks like Ed has got the fireworks safety video ready to close.
Actually, yeah, I was like, yeah, we could show the safety video, but this might be a little more fun.
Okay.
And I'm not going to show the whole thing, but we're going to start off at the beginning, and then I'm going to skip right to the good part on this one here. So yeah, and this is kind of a lesson to be learned here. Be extremely careful in if you're going to launch your own fireworks, and probably recommend that you just go to the ones where the professionals are doing it. But it is kind of awesome. So.
All right, this year we had a few problems. What was going to be a day filled with a rock show, yes, that's yours truly ripping the Star-Spangled Banner, fireworks and relaxation, was instead a disaster that ruined the last part of the evening and forever burned in a frightful memory that could have gone much worse. We're all thanking our lucky stars that everyone walked away and no property damage occurred, and we're viewing this as a fortunate teaching moment that we will never forget. So stay tuned, everyone. I'm going to show the show as it occurred in real time, then dive into what went wrong. I'll include multiple videos from different cameras as well as slow motion that will show.
Okay, let's get to
crazy. I remember you showed me this.
Yeah, so what happened here was they lit off one of their fireworks to get the thing off the ground, but unfortunately all of them caught fire.
Whoops!
And so it basically was like every firework they had just basically became the best finale ever, but super dangerous because they had no control over where these things were going. And you'll see momentarily. Let's see. I may have to go a little further up in the video here. Yeah, right about here. Yeah.
Mercifully, the show is over. What you're seeing now is the aftermath of the setup. The lighting is bad, but hopefully you can see the destruction that occurred from the ground's explosions. Now, let's take a look at more footage from different cameras that captured the ground view and intense sounds that made us run like mice. At least no one acted like those fainting ghosts. Although, as you'll see, some of the kids did not take the cue from others and remained seated. That was a bit scary.
Yeah, you'll see. You can totally see from this bed. It's like they're basically, this is their view out their door of their home, kind of. Like,
my God.
They're running for cover.
Run for your lives.
Go, 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 go.
They're almost as scared as that family that saw the aliens in their backyard.
His pyro kids, he has to go run out and bring them in the house before they get blown up by the fireworks. View from the neighbors on the opposite side. It's like, yeah, it's going everywhere.
This video captured what started the ground explosions. I'll use slow motion to show what I think triggered the malfunctions and the insanity that followed.
That's our Friday night Chicago Corner fireworks. No,
Yeah,
Kathy. I hope not.
I think that's enough. But yeah, so it's kind of fun to light stuff on fire and see if it explodes, but maybe trust the professionals this time around. You don't want to lose a finger or a hand, or
or another appendage, because we all know
burn
just
down your neighborhood or your house, or
all know just how painful that can be. All right.
So have a happy, safe 4th of July weekend. If you're going to the NASCAR race, please take some video and send it to us and let us know, what happens. Maybe we're not praying for crashes and stuff, but if you happen to catch videos of cars crashing into walls and stuff, I'd like to see that.
We will be enjoying the schadenfreude that accompanies that.
Yeah.
So, all right, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. Ed, thanks for co-hosting. And as we go into this 4th of July weekend, everybody, please remember to stay safe, watch out for each other, be vigilant, and remember if it's happening on the streets, you'll hear about it here on Chicago Corner with Oreo. All right, everybody. Have a good weekend. We'll see you again next Tuesday. Oh, wait. Will we be on Tuesday? That's 4th of July.
Ooh, that's a good question.
As I'm getting ready to.
I don't. We should take Tuesday.
Yeah, I think we deserve the night off. There's not going to be a whole lot to report on.
So see you next Friday.
See you next Friday, everybody. Join us next Friday, and until then, everybody, stay safe.
Get out of here, you Dago bastard! Go on, get your ass out of here!
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent. If you would like to be a guest on Chicago Corner, please email our host, Jerry, at chicagocorner.tv.